Like 70 grand. Yeah. And the whole thing was, say if you were much money out of it. Right, but if you're around, you can exactly. So it's not freedom better. You can buy a certain trailer. You can build a nice. I'm always sure you anyway. So if you want to farm, you can let some of those guys enter. So the driveway has, I see an arch there. No, I tried to in our back. You have like an access. Yeah, but like the trailer, right? The way our backyard is all together, right? Side walkway, and then you open the side gate and then walk to the backyard. Oh, that's ideal. I'm here and I'm around.
Yes, sir. Just sitting around. It's just an empty room.
Good morning, Jamie.
What time is it open?
So our high school diploma goes from 8:45.
But when they don't have it, it's like. Oh man, that's boxy. That's nice.
So is this like
We have another teacher.
Good morning. I'm Candace.
Morning.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Hello, good morning.
Thank you
Trying to
so much
see
for
if I
allowing
can
us to
turn
join
this
via
up.
Zoom.
Hold on just a second. Sorry, you have to see my big old face.
That's okay.
Roberto, can we turn this up? Is it going any louder?
Which one?
This,
Oh, which one? This
because
one?
like when they talk, they're really low.
It's coming from their side. Let me see.
Now you get to see his face.
So speak. Speak.
Hello.
Can someone talk?
Hi.
Someone talk.
Hello.
Can you turn up the volume on your microphone?
They're all three different places, so.
Mine is all the way up.
Yeah, I can't hear.
What is this?
I'm gonna see if I can turn my,
Your microphone is super loud.
Oh,
that was super loud.
Try it again.
Is that better?
Try it again.
Better?
Better.
Better?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah. I just need to pick up her microphone a lot more. Can you hear everybody behind?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's really where it's at. Like, if you want, like,
4 months. So,
Say something again.
Better?
I don't like Max.
I don't even know how to use one, so I don't blame you.
Yeah, because I'm hearing the audio's not transferring properly. Candice, can you send me
so I think that's important, right? And
Just the Mac doesn't like to transfer.
where do I send it? Email?
Yeah, email.
Roberto YouthBuild? The YouthBuild? Yep. I'm gonna make more.
We had someone design it for us, and then we had it as a fundraiser to raise money. Do I did in Tuesday last week?
Yes.
Yes.
We had mugs and we had shirts.
Do you want me to come to conference?
Give me a second. We're going live, so.
Okay. Do you want me to go live from my phone and just monitor comments?
Well, it won't be like that. Oh,
Oh, he gonna put it on his computer. Cause everybody can see all your business here.
well, no, I think it's a volume thing. But we're live on Facebook.
transferring properly? Like the
Sorry,
main-
everyone, we're having technical difficulties here.
That's okay.
Hi, good morning. We're having some technical difficulties here, so. It's a volume thing, so he's trying to, I guess I could log in on yours if I need to.
Is the audio coming out of the laptop or TV? So what I'll do is,
Let me try it again. It's because they have to hear you. Try it again.
What am I trying? Have them talk? Can you talk? Sorry.
That's okay. Can you hear me better?
See, it's not coming through. It's not transferring.
I mean, I can hear you. It's just a little.
It's not transferring from the. So move this laptop back there real quick.
Okay, we're on the move. We will get started in just a second. Sorry. Help yourself to coffee, donuts, hot chocolate.
Candace, did Gerhard make it?
What was that?
Did Gerhard make it?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
I will check on him.
Is she the main presenter?
They all are. Do I need to log in on your computer? I don't know what's happening here.
so what's the issue?
Teacher live. Can you hear me? Can someone say
Yes.
something real quick?
Yes, hello?
Teacher live. There you go. People. All day, every day. All right.
Yay.
Everybody can hear you. Works.
All right. Now we're going to go live on Facebook. Let's see if we can make this work.
That's what I had to do for a year and a half, people.
Zoom live. Oh, yeah, man.
All day. Welcome to Compton YouthBuild, everyone.
Thank you.
Welcome to our space.
Sorry, looking at my behind you. Good morning. How are you?
Come on in.
All right. Can you hear us? Good?
Someone say something.
Okay. I think we're good. Okay, we're going to. Hi, sorry. Yeah, I'm gonna do an intro. We're gonna do like 2 things. All right. Welcome. Glad to see some new faces here. Thank you for joining us. Pardon me, I'm getting over loss of my voice, so I'm gonna do the best I can. But it's our last meeting of the year. 2020, I don't even know what year we're in anymore, but 2020, 2021, they have been crazy years on our front because it's been really hard to connect with the community like we would usually do in past years, but you know, we've made it work. I would like to thank the new people and our existing advocates that come out almost every meeting. And thank you to Assemblymember Gipson for coming out. We have KBK Enterprises here with us. One of their team members will be coming in person, but we're waiting for him to get here. So in the meantime, they'll be sitting in on our meeting as we go through this. A little housekeeping. As we move through the agenda and the speakers, guests, I just ask that we communicate respectfully with one another because I know that these are hot topics and topics that have kind of been making their rounds about the different developments coming to Compton, but this is an opportunity for us to get answers to any questions that we may have and to gain better understanding of these projects and the people who are working on them. So I just ask that we all show one another grace and respect during this time. Looking forward really quickly in 2022, although we have not received it yet, we were selected to receive a grant from South LA Decides. And that is going to give us the ability to expand our reach and do bigger things here in the community. So in 2022, we plan to do 2 more large-scale resource fairs like we did in September. We will also be doing community leadership development workshops, and we are going to bring back Loteria nights here in the city. So we're going to do something fun that will allow us to share information while having fun with one another and getting to know our neighbors, because that sense of community, that's truly what's going to move us forward. We will also have some financial literacy workshops with in partnership with Chase. It's really important to us to stay on our mission to educate, activate, and empower the Compton community. We want to teach people how to fish, not just give things without any real, background to it. So Veronica here is the Associate Director of Compton Advocates. I don't know if you want to add something in the beginning.
You're doing such a beautiful job.
I'm gonna make you talk pretty soon.
Okay.
So moving on, everyone has an agenda? You good? Yeah. So City Hall, one of the things that we really want to encourage people to do moving into the new year is to attend council meetings when you can. We know that it's not always feasible for people to make that time to show up to council meetings, but it's a good way to gain information. And if you can't attend in person, you can watch them online on Channel 36 or on ComptonCity.org. You can tap in live that way. You can only make public comments in person, but it's really important that our elected officials see that the community is engaged and active and hear the things that are affecting you or concerning you here in the city. And if we don't participate that way, then things just kind of move forward without us and without our input. So with that said, I am excited to bring up Jen Flores, who, she ran for council seat in District 3 this last round. She is also the founder of Egrc Coalition, and I'm proud to say she is my sister. I'm very proud of everything she's done. But she's gonna talk a little bit about council comments, and she is there most Tuesdays.
Hi, good morning, everybody, and thank you for having me. I'm gonna make it really brief. So District 3 Coalition was meeting once a month at the end of the month. And I was attending council meetings on Tuesdays and realizing that there were only maybe a handful of people and not a very diverse group. So we have officially moved the District 3 Coalition meetings to Tuesdays at 5:30 at the city council meetings. I want to see everyone there. It's to hopefully drive more people and a more diverse crowd into the city council meetings. That being said, everyone gets a chance to speak. You get 3 minutes at a council meeting for public comments. So when the meeting agenda is split between, let's say, a public hearing or they're talking about a specific topic, the comments are limited to that specific topic. But once the agenda is open to the regular council meeting, you can use your 3 minutes to talk about whatever you'd like. Normally you arrive about 15 minutes early to put your name on the agenda to talk, but that is not necessary. At the end of public comments, the mayor will ask if anybody else would like, and you can just go on up and you can form a line, or you can go up when you're ready and you can leave your public comments. I really urge all of us to use that time because these comments are on record. And the more comments that are on record about the same topic, it's much easier to continue to push City Hall to get the things that we need done. So I have heard people talk about everything from their trees being, torn down to the car wash that they do not want. I think that was probably the biggest one. There was about 30 people there specifically to talk about that, but also for good things, right? We have Connecting Compton here. At some point they will need support. And when you go to City Hall to leave public comments, that is your way to help support them. The other thing is that I know we're all a working community, and so sometimes getting there at 5:30 can be difficult. There are sometimes closed sessions. Let me just tell you, I have gotten there late. I have gotten there in my work clothes. Just attend the meeting. That's really, your presence is the biggest thing to show that we're paying attention. So I hope to see you all there. Please reach out to me if you have questions. Please reach out to me if you don't want to go alone and you need a friend. You can come sit social distance next to me. That is, that's what I'm there for. And please just let me know. The Heritage House that is on the corner is open for parking now. So you don't have to park in the street and worry about your parking code. So you can park there now during the council meetings, and I think for other city business during the day. So it's so good to see everybody. I look forward to 2022, and let's get to work.
Do they have any light at the Heritage House yet at night?
I don't know. I just
was
know
there on Tuesday, and I took one look and I go.
it was too
no,
dark.
No.
Okay, let me
I can only outrun so much.
yeah.
You get parked at the house, the old house.
The Heritage House, yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't know
She
what it's
said it
called.
was dark.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that is something that you would talk about at, city council. Hey, it's open, but it's dark and, I'm scared. So,
Thank you.
I will be there on Tuesday and I can leave that comment. So hope to see everyone then.
Thank you, Jen. I am also going to add 2 things to our website, which is comptonadvocates.org. You can request public records at City Hall. So there's really nothing that is a secret. There's a portal that you can go in, you can request things like emails, minutes, attendance records, like there are a slew of things you can request. So I'm gonna add that link to our website because it's kind of hard to find on the city's website. Things are, I hear they're redoing it, but it's a little tricky to find it. So I'm going to add that link. I'm also going to add the link for the treasurer's reports to our website. You have a question?
Question, when a person requests records, is there a fee, like $1 per page, 50 cents per page? It's totally
Nope.
free?
And you can get them, it says that there are some records that aren't going to be available via email, but the majority of the things that I requested, they just email, they let you know when it's there, and then you go into like your message inbox and you drop, it's like a PDF that pops up.
I asked for some stuff online and it says it doesn't work.
On the records request?
Yeah, so I was gonna go in to the city clerk's office to do the paper form, but on the paper form, it says that there is a fee if they make copies. You review them there, but you can't take them unless it's, is that true?
I haven't had to do that. Everything I've requested, I've got it online, like I've been able to get it. Let's talk after. Also, there's been talk, at any council meetings or people who have been making public comment stating that our treasurer is not providing records. They are online. There are reports, there's treasurers, like a treasurer page. And you can pull up check registers, different things. So that information is there. I'm gonna put that link on our website as well so that people can access it. And this is our treasurer here, Mr. Brandon Mims. Thank you for joining us. And I know that he's made a very good effort to try to be as transparent as possible with the community. He showed up to meetings, he's done lives with people. So I appreciate that he is willing to open those doors of communication with the community. Next, we have special guest, Assemblymember Mike Gipson, who represents 8064. He's going to give us some updates and take some questions.
Thank you very much, Candace. Good morning. Buenos dias. I know you have a packed agenda, and I want to be very, very succinct in my comments and also leave room for questions. First of all, let me say I'm absolutely delighted to be here. Thank you very much, Candace. She serves one of my commissioners on our Women's Commission. We have a number of commissions. Due to the pandemic, we want to make sure that people are safe. And so we could not be as active during the pandemic as we wanted to be with all of our commissions. But we certainly, at first of the year, we always send out applications to people who want to serve in various commissions committees in which I oversee or members of in the state assembly, or just commissions that make sense for us to focus in on. And so let me say, I'm happy to be here, YouthBuild. Roberto, thank you again so very much. It's good to see you. I remember, this is a transformation of this school. I remember when it didn't look as good as it does now, and happy to have been here for the grand opening. And remember way back when, that's how long ago I've been involved in the city of Compton. I used to live here in the city of Compton before I moved to the city of Carson. But it's good also to see my good friends from Connecting Compton. They got a very great program. I'm sure they're going to talk about that. But really quickly, I just want to just touch bases on this. We still have to do everything our health professionals say to do. And I want to start off by saying that this pandemic is real. This pandemic has caused irreparable, irreversible damage. I, for one, have lost 2 family members. I've lost 2 praise and worship leaders at my church that I attend due to this pandemic. I represent 500,000 people. So within the 500,000 people, there are somebody that's being affected by this pandemic and they are dying. So I want to ask you to please, let's make sure that you are here, your family members are here this time next year so we can celebrate the holidays. This is not political. It does not have a D or an R attached to it. It is based on science, and we don't want people to be mistaken or be fooled or be hoodwinked or bamboozled. This thing kills. And when you die, you're not resurrected. You don't come back. That's it. And so I can't make it plain than what I just said. I asked our health director, Barbara Ferrer, who's the county health director, give me the highest areas in my community in the 64th Assembly District that has been non-vaccinated people. The first community was Watts, where I was born and raised. Then the second community was Wilmington. And so what I did was we mobilized in Watts on September the 18th of this year. We mobilized close to 300 volunteers, 9 community-based organizations. We raised close to $50,000 through SBCC just to put this on. And we knocked on over 2,000 doors. We were able to vaccinate over 300 people. This was their first booster, their first shot they've ever had, and this was their second shot. But when we found someone, we drove right up and had a van meet those individuals at their home, because it was that important for us to come to their home to vaccinate not only them, but their children at the same time. And so we did this with a coalition of people. Then on October the 30th, we went to Wilmington. We mobilized about 175 people there, same organizations. We were able to knock on close to 3,000 doors, and over 300 to 400 people got their vaccine. And so that's my commitment to the community, which I represent, because I don't want anyone to have to experience what my family has experienced. And also, we want to make sure that everybody live and also not die. And so I just have to say that before I go any further, because you're important, your family's important, whether I know them or not, whether or not my DNA matched their DNA or not, it makes no difference. It's about all of us in this thing together, and we get out of this stuff and we get out of it together. So real quickly, with respect to the work that I've been doing in Sacramento, many of you have already received a survey via email and or a hard copy in the mail. Every year I send out a survey. That survey talks about what you want my agenda to be. Now, a number of my elected official friends, they don't ask you to be part of the agenda, the legislative agenda. Since 2014, I have sent out a survey asking you what you want me to work on. And I'm happy to say that we've been successful with you having input in terms of the work that I've been working on. You have said, whether or not you actually did it or not, you have said public safety is number one. We want safer communities. We have communities in which I represent the 6th district in the state of California, which means that if there's gun violence or gang violence taking place, chances are it's happening in my district. My oldest son was shot, and he and his fiance on April the 5th, 2020, walking down the street, because they had been in the house for a long time, walking down the street. My son was shot twice. His fiance was shot in the leg. Now, both of them work full-time jobs, and they have children. Okay, they were innocent bystanders. One young man was killed. Another man was shot in the hand. So when it comes down to public safety, and that's not even in my district. Understand, when they were shot on 92nd and Western, it's not even in my district. That's where his mother lived. Okay, but I take this public safety absolutely serious. As a former police officer, the first African-American lad to be hired in the history of the Maywood Police Department, I stand by public safety and want to make sure communities are safe in which I represent and don't represent, so it'll be safe for people to walk down the street. So number one issue in my district was public safety, access to healthcare, education, the list goes on and on. The environment was the last one, was number 10, right? And if you look at the agenda which I put forth each and every year, it reflects the residents of the 64th State Assembly District in my district. And so you should have already received it. If you didn't receive a hard copy in the mail, we'll get you one, or we can send you an electronic one, because we want you to wait.
The link is right behind you.
Oh, okay. Oh, thank you. What's going on? Thank you very much. So, yeah. So we want you to absolutely be part of the legislative agenda that I put forth each and every year. Speaking of which, the governor had 9 bills of mine. All bills that went to the governor's desk was signed into law. A number of my bills I had to hold and make 2 years bills. We will do that work when we return back to Sacramento in January. Some of the bills, and you just asked to go to the website, so I won't be redundant. I want to be brief. AB 958. Let me tell you about 958. Mayor Asa Brown was a mayor of the city of Compton. There was a deputy sheriff who was bullied, who was left unprotected, who was harassed because they tried to get him to be part of a police or sheriff's gang. And so as a result of that, right, I thought it was appalling that we even had gangs. When I was in Maywood, we didn't have a gang, right? We just didn't have a gang in the department, especially me being the first and last African-American there. So we didn't have a gang. So to hear that gang, officer gangs exist was absolutely crazy, preposterous to me. So we created a bill, AB 958. The Sheriff, Alex Villanueva, was a sponsor of that bill. And we got that bill to the governor's desk. That bill was signed by the governor. What that bill does, it prohibits any law enforcement agency in the state of California from formalizing, from creating, and being a part of any police gang. Because understand what's going on. Just as Crips and Bloods, you have to put work in to be courted in the gang, it's the same theory for sheriff's department or police departments. Crips and Bloods, you have to do work, you have to fight, you have to hurt somebody or kill someone, right? Police officer gangs, you have to use excessive force or deadly force. So when you question, was that shooting justified? I would go on a limb and say it possibly, underscore, don't misunderstand what I'm saying, it possibly is not only questionable, but it possibly was a part of an initiation. Everybody got quiet. Okay, so now if you found part of a sheriff gang, you could be terminated. And because of SB2, which is decertification, that Senator Steve Bradford wrote and passed by the governor, signed by the governor, if you are decertified, you can never be a police officer in the state of California or deputy sheriff. You go somewhere else. And doing my research, there are states who, if you've ever been fired from California, they will hire you on the spot. Even when you terminate or when you resign to face prosecution of a shooting, they will still hire you. That's crazy to me. That's absolutely crazy to me. But they know that we train people here. We go over and beyond to some extent as it relates to the training. But that bill was signed into law by Governor Gavin Newsom prohibiting law enforcement gangs. Assembly Bill 651 dealing with Woodlawn Cemetery. There are 2 cemeteries on Central. Let me know how much time I have so I can stop. I don't want to go over. There's 2 cemeteries. Lincoln is in the city of Carson. Lincoln Cemetery, but Woodlawn is in the city of Compton. I have family members who are buried there. Everybody knows that the previous owner there didn't pay the water bill, put a chain, lock, and walked away from it. And there was nothing that the law could do to stop him from doing that. Assembly Bill 651 creates some transparency and accountability in that bill. I would just certainly encourage you to read this bill. Also, it creates an opportunity for the county or any county in the state to come in when a cemetery is getting ready to go under to provide vegetation removal, making sure that the grounds that we lay our loved ones there are respected and respectable when we go there. And so now it's a new game, it's a new challenge, it's a new outlook when it comes down to our cemetery, especially when we lay our family members to rest. AB 490 deal with positional asphyxia. What that simply means is that police officers or law enforcement can place you in a position that cuts your wind off. Now, if I can't breathe, what happens? We die. Look what happened to George Floyd. So the technique that was used, it cut George Floyd carotid artery restraint. It was called carotid artery restraint, which means that the blood that was going to his head was cut off. If blood and oxygen cuts off to the brain, you die. You lose consciousness first, and then you die. And so any techniques like that, this bill, AB 490, prohibits those kinds of things from happening. Also, 1196 that was signed into law by Governor Gavin Newsom, banning chokeholds and carotid artery restraints. Those bills, those 2 bills, now will prevent law enforcement from using techniques that will cut someone's ability to breathe off. Before you knew about George Floyd, no one heard about Ferdinand Valenzuela, a Latino brother over in Santa Ana, who the police killed. He left 2 children orphans. The city of Santa Ana paid out $33.1 million to that family because the officers were negligent in their responsibilities. They killed this man, and this man is gone now, but left his children without a father. And so the city of Santa Ana paid out $33.1 million. But those kinds of techniques can never be used any longer in California, and people will be held accountable. Assembly Bill 342 eliminates cost sharing when it comes down to colonoscopy. None of you are in this room is probably young enough for it, old enough for it rather. But there are people who are over 50 who has to get their colon checked. And when you have one test, it could be a false negative, and you have to get another test, and that additional test costs $1,400. If you're over 50 years old, you don't have that $1,400 lying around somewhere, right? So what people have been doing is not paying the $1,400, and then they find out that they have tested positive for colorectal cancer, and sometimes it's too far gone, and then you die. This is a preventable death. This is a preventable disease. And if we're caught early, we can reverse it, we can get you the treatment, and you can live a long, prosperous life. And so let me just also talk about some of the budget wins. This is the first time since I've been elected that I got $2.2 billion in the state's budget. That's a direct way and indirect way when it comes down to my district. We got $10 million for the city of Compton, dealing with the Compton Creek. It's going to be a fabulous thing once it's done. It's going to be absolutely fabulous. We're connecting the Los Angeles River to the Compton Creek. First of all, we're not going to have no crazy problems like what happened in Carson. We ain't going to have no stinky smell. It's going to be all right. Trust me on this, okay? The water's going to be flowing. Carson had a canal. The water just sat there. Compton has a natural creek. We're going to connect it to the LA River, and it's going to be water flowing. So you won't have the same dynamics that we had in also Carson. And so we got $10 million for that project. We got $10 million. We presented a check to Martin King Community Hospital for $10 million to deal with trauma that's caused by this pandemic. We have people who have trauma who suffer in silence, and this will create new doctors at Martin King Hospital that specialize when it comes down to mental health. We also delivered a check for $50 million to Charles Drew University of Medicine and Science, which is directly across the street from Martin King Hospital. Why is Charles Drew important? We're going to make that university the Xavier of the West Coast. And because guess who goes there to those schools? 5 minutes, I got you. Is that 5 seconds or 5 minutes? Yeah. So I grew up in Watts. And so we always had residents who graduate from Charles Drew University of Medicine and Science, and they did the residency over at Martin King Hospital. We're trying to reestablish that relationship again, but Charles Drew need to be built. They need to create some more buildings. We have a great nursing program there, but who are going there for medicine is Black and brown students who want to practice medicine, who want to be doctors, who want to come back to their community and serve their community in the art of medicine. And so we want to give them that opportunity. We want to increase the enrollment there. We want to make sure that Charles University of Medicine and Science stands as an institution we can all be proud of. And we've done that work with the $50 million that we have allocated through the state that we were able to get into this year's budget. We got $350 million because Compton Unified School District has a absolute great program. It's called Male Teachers of Color. And what this program does, it recruits male teachers of color to come and teach in our schools of color. You have 75% of the students in California are students of color, but yet and still 10% are males. And out of that 10%, there's 1 to 2% are male teachers of color. So when Loyola, UCLA, and USC have already did the study, when you place a male teacher of color in an elementary school, it changes the atmosphere. It changes the dynamic. You have those students who are males that want to grow up and become their role models, who teaches them. Those role models who teaches in the classroom. And also it is chronicled that teenage dropout decreases and graduation rates increases in communities of color when you place a male teacher of color. So why should we make that kind of investment? The governor didn't sign my bill because we moved the bill, because if you do a bill and you put a budget request and they satisfy the bill with the budget request, the bill just falls because you don't need the bill. So the governor took my language and placed it into a budget request, which now provides $300 million in perpetuity to focus on recruitment, and retention of male teachers of color in education in the state of California. So let me just, I got 5 minutes, let me see what else that I want to talk about. Okay, my team continues to work every day on EDD cases. We handle about 1,000 cases a week when it comes to EDD cases. People who need their benefits. We have 2 people, that's all they do, that's dedicated to EDD cases. And we've been making sure that these people who call the office get their EDD benefits in which that they desperately need just to put food on the table and the whole 9 yards. And so let me stop there and let me ask if there's any questions in the 3 minutes I have. Okay.
Just for your presentation was that time and then
Oh, okay. Well, I could have did some more stuff. Okay, go ahead. I just left the mayor and Ms. Darden a few moments ago over at the Dollar High, where we just given lines of kids joys on their face with Santa Claus giving away toys. And then I came here, it's a great event. And to the Macmillan Block Club, I had an awesome opportunity to go there for the first annual Block Club there, and it was great. They talked about some houses on the streets. No community should be held hostage by gang violence, by drugs, or anything else. And so I wrote a letter to the city attorney and also to the mayor and the council member who represent that community, which is, what district is it? District 2. And so I wrote a letter to all 3 entities asking them to look at these houses, 1917, I'm saying it, 1917 East Macmillan Street, and also 1704. Those are problem houses. No community should be held hostage by renters who are renting those places, and the landlord is absent because all they do is get rent, and they're allowing these tenants to run amok and put kids and communities in jeopardy. So we asked them to use an ordinance that I believe they have on the books. The city of Los Angeles had it. I had it when I was a city council member, City Carson. If there's a nuisance, then the city attorney can write a letter to the property owner and give them enough time to address this issue by talking to the tenants, or the city will come in and take over the house and throw you out. And so they have to conclude that it has risen to that particular level along with the sheriff department. So I know the city of Carson has it. I believe the city of Compton has it. If they don't, they should, because we want to make sure that we don't have these kind of people living in these communities that's holding communities hostage. So let me stop there and answer any questions. I got a bit coming up on the 18th of December. But with the Compton Cowboys and Connecting Compton, Moonwater Farm, it's going to be a great event. You should have gotten your flyer, so we invite you to, to participate. But let me stop now and answer any questions that anyone may have. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
I live across the street from that house.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, yeah, oh, Lord is the right word.
Yeah.
Well, so far, they supposed to be moving in January.
Amen.
So when they move, we have a block party because they leave.
Let me know. I'll bring the cake.
So I don't know, because like it's a nuisance. They don't care. They just don't care.
Right.
Making the whole block look like whatever. So that was if that's what you did was they help, help get along. I'm glad.
Well,
it's a nuisance.
Yeah, well,
I'm up my one every morning. I'm like, really?
yeah. So thank you very much for sharing that.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, well, thank you for being here. So one of the things that we've been talking about here in our program with our young people are the 2 biggest things that they worry about the most, which is affordable housing, and then the second one being just, cleaning up the streets, fixing the streets. So one thing that you just mentioned was, so if a bill is written, right, and then you can actually request it as a budget proposal. Am I getting that right? I just want to kind of. No, some bills don't need money. And so what I do is that if there is a bill that costs a large dollar amount, like anything over $100,000, and the Senate has $50,000 as the limit, it has to be referred to committee. And so I knew that my bill had a large budget ask to it.
And so I run it simultaneously. So if one get across the finish line, then I'll drop the other, right? But when we're in budget negotiations, because it takes 9 months for a bill to get to the governor's desk, go into law, it's always a budget. So if I had lost my budget ask, then the bill would have moved forward and hopefully got signed by the governor. And then the finance department, state finance department would try to find money to try to finance that bill. So I run them simultaneously, but when one is successful, I drop the other.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you for the clarification.
Yeah. We're going to deliver well, we got a lot of budget asks. Compton's where I'm telling you, Compton has so much money. We got 87, you said streets. So we invested $87 million into 19 projects into the city of Compton right now. Caltrans, I do a quarterly meeting with Caltrans and all the elected officials in my district and their city managers. I've been doing this since 2015. So we bring in Linwood, Compton, Carson, Wilmington, North Long Beach, Gardena, and also Torrance. And so we have Caltrans, head of Caltrans there, and we go through each city and they tell us not only outstanding cases, but they also share with us how much money is being invested in those cities as relates to projects through SB1 that the voters approved. And just this week, we got an update that Compton has $87 million worth of projects that's moving forward. Now, we couldn't give a description on those projects. The mayor knew about them, the city manager knew about them. And so, but there's $87 million that's coming, being invested of state money into the city of Compton to help dealing with roads and infrastructure. We also asked them, Caltrans, to talk about the Rosecrans Bridge and also the Artesia Bridge, which is cutting off the access road to the businesses on the Crystal Park Casino. Crystal Park Casino brings in $3 million to the general fund of the city of Compton. But also, we don't want that shopping center to dry up because of lack of access. So we try to get that bridge fixed so that people can have access and shop and spend money and stuff like that. So you said roads and you said affordable housing. Affordable housing. I have a bill 1199, Assembly Bill 1199. This may shock you because it did with me. 70% of the homes in Compton is owned by investment bankers. It is. Because when you have investment bankers coming in, buying, putting cash money down, outbidding you as first-time home buyer, I'm just using an example, then you who lived here, you can't come back and live here, right? Can't live with your mom and daddy, right, all the time. And so what it's doing is also inflating the market and driving the home prices up. So it's making it unaffordable to buy a home in Compton because you have these investment bankers using this to flip property the whole 9 yards, but also see a profit margin. So my bill 1199, we can't stop that. There's nothing we can do legally, but we can make it difficult. What my bill would do is a tax, what's called excise tax on these companies, corporations that have 25 or more properties, and that money is created an account. And if you're a first-time home buyer, you can leverage that money to put down or down payment. Now you still have to compete, right? But at least you will stand in a position, better position to not have any money at all in one of our houses, right? And so we're doing this to also disclose through LLCs, because if I want to hide who owns a piece of property, I'm just going to open up an LLC. No one knows who's connected to the LLC. So what my bill will do is create the Secretary of State will have on a website who's connected to LLCs. So you can put the LLC into the computer and it reveal who owns it. Even if it's a board of directors, it has to show every board of directors on and it's associated with the LLC. It doesn't stop them, but it reveals who they are.
Okay. Hold on. Rodney? Yeah. Jerry.
Thank you for being here. You touched on it a little bit with the Compton, the bridge or Artesia. I live on District 3 up on 156th Street. So sometimes when I'm taking the freeway going east, before the bridge issue was there, you could take Artesia and as a frontage road. And now that's not really possible. And it's been going on for a certain period of time. The city spoke about it a couple months ago. You speak right now. has anyone come up with, okay, you identified the list of projects, and anyone somewhere said, we're gonna start this project on this date, this project on this date, and even if the bridge is a year out, because the frustration that people have is, we hear how much it's gonna cost, we hear money's coming in, but we don't know a start date. So is it any way possible that we can find out, hey, go to this site, and these are the projects that city staff has told Caltrans, and Caltrans said that we're gonna partially fund or whatever, here's the ranking, so we can get an idea of that, because it's not only an issue of the businesses being cut off, and in Compton, we need the business tax.
Right.
So when people say, I can't go to Best Buy because it's a hassle, I'm gonna go to Carson, well, I'll jump on the freeway and then go to Lakewood Best Buy, we're not getting that money.
Right.
So, and it's also a public safety issue, because if the sheriff has to get down somewhere, they either gotta go down Greenleaf and get stuck in traffic,
Sure.
or they gotta go that long way
Yeah,
around.
I absolutely know the issue. I travel that way multiple times. I'll probably travel that way to get to my next event. But to answer your question, I heard two questions in your commentary. One, the money that I referenced does not include the bridge. Okay, it does not include the bridge. $87 million does not include the bridge. Caltrans cannot tell us exactly. They're going to send information over to the mayor in terms of the $87 million. These are projects the city asked Caltrans to do utilizing SB1 money. And so SB1 money, again, we didn't have a list. They couldn't give us that. But there's no money, to my knowledge, being allocated for the bridge because the city doesn't have the money. And so what my job is to talk to state and federal leaders to see how we can get money for this bridge. So I tasked Caltrans' responsibility to come back to the mayor and to myself in terms of what monies we can leverage that qualifies to repair or tear down and build up. So also it's going to mean that the Congresswoman's office is involved because this be a federal highway. And so we're trying to see what monies between the state and federal government, because if they give me a dollar amount, then I'm going to go try to get some money from Sacramento to try to address this particular issue. And so we're working on it.
Thank
you. You're very welcome.
Our next question is from Jack.
I'll try to be shorter.
About 5 minutes.
Okay.
I have a question about the redistricting of the district. So how do you feel about Carson being possibly split into two, being a charter city and having two separate assembly members?
I feel the same way that Long Beach. Mayor Robert Garcia said that he wants one assembly member to represent the city of Long Beach. My family's in Carson. We've been there for over 20 plus years. I was on the city council for almost 10 years in the city of Carson. To have Carson being split up, I think it disenfranchises the residents of Carson. Because you have two assembly members. And that doesn't mean that we all work together, right? Because you have two assembly members, they're going to be having priorities. Like I have a whole bunch of priorities from Watts and other areas that may conflict with my budget ask, whatever, for the city of Carson. And so we have to figure out how that works out. It serves a city to have one representative, but we also understand that in this dynamic in terms of a citizen redistricting commission, I can't get involved as an elected. I have to stay out. They have to hear from the residents. And my understanding is that they will take a final vote on the 27th of December, finalizing the law. Because if you look at what used to be the 64, they cut San Pedro in half as well, right? So if I hope to get reelected, first of all. Let's be clear. So if you look at that, and you look at, so I opened up, I said, I'll represent the 6th district in the state of California, right? San Pedro have different dynamics. You have poor and high middle class and rich people, right? And so if you look at the district being proposed right now, they would give me the poor part of San Pedro.
Do you think that's why they cut out that portion of Carson to give you?
You know what? I don't know. I mean, I fell asleep a couple of times. The commission go to 1 o'clock in the morning, and it's hard to follow them. All I say, whatever district they give me, I'm gonna work it like I've worked it, like I've been doing since 2014. I'm gonna make sure that every city is known that they're special to me, and I'm going to continue to press the pedal to the metal to make it happen.
And then I have a second question. So I know you said in your survey, safety was the #1 thing and the environmental issues were #10. The city of Compton is about to reach 40 homicides this year. And well, I work in Carson, so I know the smell every day, which was an environmental issue. So, what are the things that you've done to pivot away, and help both of those issues? And going into, if you're reelected, what would you change about, the way you prioritize the different?
It's not my prioritization. It's the residents. It's through the survey that they have said they want me to work on these issues.
Do you think
So-
environmental issues will be higher on the list this time?
You know what? Let me ask a question.
Smell reduce the crime.
Let me ask you this question. And I want to be very, very sincere because I'm very, very emotional when it comes down to this issue, right? I have people who wants me to make a decision. Either save the tree or the person under the tree.
No.
Let me finish, right? My focus, California leads the way in terms of homeless people. My godchild is homeless right now and on crystal meth, right? And he has a mental issue dealing because of the crystal meth. I'm trying to save as many people as I can through public safety to make sure they have housing, to make sure they're off the streets. So when you have, we don't disregard environmental issues. That's why I'm on the port committee, the select committee, dealing with the ports. I created and authored bills to take these old trucks off the streets and give them new, more cleaner, environmental friendly trucks. Because 50–60% of the emissions come from diesels in cars. If you had a 20-year-old car, you can trade that in and we give you $7,500, right? And so CARB took my idea and they increased the trading, right? With the trucks, that bill, Jerry Brown never signed that bill. So,
We're like 1 minute.
okay, we're trying to do everything we can to focus on the environment at the same time with juggling people's lives who are immediate right now.
And I 100% agree with
Okay.
you. My point is, we have 40 homicides in the city of Compton, which is way higher. So it seems like we're failing on all fronts at this point. So if you're reelected, I really think you just need to reevaluate, because all of the bills you mentioned that you've worked on sound great, but very few of them really had to do with public safety.
AB 958, dealing with police officer gangs, making sure the police officers didn't move our butts. Chokehold bills, AB 490, AB 1196. That's those are not only public safety bills, but also police reform bills that the police and not only the residents through my survey said they want me to work on.
And that's fine, but they're not helping us here feel safe.
Yeah, we want that to be the same thing it was the last 10 years.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
The crime is still consistent. Everything, the takeovers, car takeovers are still consistent. None of the policemen, there's no militarization of the police. There's no change, there's no reform.
Well, these bills that I just mentioned goes in effect January 1, 2022.
Those are
There are 18 bills the governor signed. I just talked about my bills, 18 bills the governor signed that transform and reimagine what law enforcement looks like in the state of California. So those bills are going to be implemented and they start January 1st, 2022. We have led the country when it comes down to police reform. No other state has done what we've done when it comes down to police reform. So that's police reform at the same time. It's also public safety at the same time. What the city, I'm not on the city council. Carson, we're not, gang free or whole 9 yards, but we spend more money than any city in the county of Los Angeles for public safety, because we want to make sure, when I say we, because was on the city council yet. They wanted to make sure that people could walk down the streets in a safe environment. Now, Carson's not Beverly Hills. Carson has its issues as well. No community in the state or in America is safe. But we have to, one, be thoughtful and also strategically how we address some of the issues. The people who are doing this, what I found, no one has been able to tell me differently, they don't have a job. The people who are arrested and put in jail, when we ask them, who's your employer? They don't have an employer. And I'm having a conference in March dealing with gang violence and gun violence. I lead the way when it comes down to gun safety. The NRA made me enemy number one, where they put my home address and my home phone number on the national website. So I had people patrolling the area and making death threats to me because I'm not afraid to take them on. So when you come down to public safety, as I described, my son was shot and his fiance was shot. Public safety is absolutely critical to me. I don't elect or nor do I appoint the sheriff or the captain of the city. We have to reimagine what that looks like and figure out how do we put dollars and intervention programs in place that make sense, that reduce the gun violence and the gang violence in Compton. And that's why I'm putting it
Yes,
together.
thank you.
We need to move quickly to these next couple of questions because we're running a little
I'm
behind.
sorry.
So, no, it's fine, it's fine. These are good questions.
Great.
It's just timing.
Real quick, all right?
Yes.
Okay, so you mentioned that investment backs on around 70% of the housing here in Compton. Does that also include the people that already have bought and are paying off? Or is that just,
No, Blackstone bought 6,000 homes in 1 month.
so my point is, now that, because that's a horrible number. Being that we have a public housing crisis and the positioning that the city's been put in to build more housing, can we work together to make the priority that people are able to buy a home instead of building new homes?
That's only, the jurisdiction is the city of Compton. Compton has to make that priority. But you can't stop someone. If someone's putting something up for sale, you can't stop that, right?
Could we potentially put pressure on them, being that there is a public housing crisis? This is like a pandemic issue attached to it. People are on the street, there's a homeless issue, there's crime. Could we figure out something where we can potentially help and see how we can press so that they're not having to hold so many homes? Because at the end of the day, they're building value by holding. If they put it off for sale, everything goes down. Obviously, that's an effect to you. Could we do something? Has there been something that's ever been done, or could we like sit down and think about something where people could have more options in buying instead of building, 12,000 or 1,200 more units?
Well, let me answer the question this way. California is behind in terms of home building. And a lot of people smarter than me believe how we address the homeless crisis and the unaffordability of homes is to build homes and to build affordable homes. And so that's why you've seen a lot of legislation come out that deals with CEQA, the relaxed CEQA in a number of different ways to build more homes. We have to build, I forgot how many millions of homes a year just to stay up with the market growth in the state of California. So we're not going to slow down home building or opportunities to build homes. We're going to try to build more homes. We're trying to put people in those homes and turn the corner, because I believe, and the reason why I wrote 1199 is because Black and brown people need to create opportunities to, one, own their homes, but also create generational wealth. And how do you do that? Is through a home. If you don't have a home, it's hard to build generational wealth.
Thank you.
One last question. Okay, three things. One, I miss you so much. The timeline about the funds that you're talking about, because I believe Compton has funds. What about the funds that you're talking about that are coming to Compton? They might be off that $87 million.
Those are projects from Caltrans. So those, yeah, so through SB1, and I know your city treasurer here, but through SB1, Compton has put in, obviously, a number of projects that totals $87 million. And so those projects are being worked on now with the work of Caltrans, however they do that.
Okay, but have you actually received the funds? Have you received the funds?
I don't know.
Okay, that's,
Yeah.
I'll accept that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
But they got $87 million. I think Caltrans people reported with the city on the line that there's $87 million worth of projects that's online to be done and worked on.
Okay, last thing, I know you gotta go. Bill 1199, there's another one that Newsom signed now that everyone can build on to the back of their homes, so they can do that. That goes in, I think, in 2022 to make it affordable. And then I think there's another one coming down in 2023 that if you have a lot, you can tear everything down off the lot and you can rebuild it up to add even more homes. How, we're struggling with parking now. What can, I mean, is there a way? I guess I'm asking wrong. Let me ask this different way. Calabasas wouldn't have to do that. Why are we in the poor communities demanding more homes be built here? I know we're $100 million homes short. I mean, you tried to explain that before, but why are they expecting poorer environments to do that? They're not up in Calabasas, because Calabasas can say my pool house is now a home, and then it's fine. But they bringing it here. And I don't just mean Compton, I want to say your districts, because they gave you, well, this is the one you chose to run for. How come they expect us to build more homes behind us, but you're not doing it for everyone? There has to be a way to cut that off. I'm not against having homes added, but there's something wrong in this entire equation here. That affluent areas don't have to do it, but you're coming here, don't mean you personally, and expecting us. You want to build blocks, you want them to put homes behind them. Compton, Long Beach has already put a limit on theirs. They're saying that we can't limit ours. But there are cities right now that are being forced to build homes. And there's no space, there's no people. There has to be something in the media. We can talk about it later, but
well, yeah, we'll put it out there real quick. And so under the bill that the governor signed, that was the Pro Tem's bill, Tony Atkins out of San Diego, you as a homeowner, and it goes to affordability, you as a homeowner, you have enough room to build a granny flat or a home in your backyard because you have enough acres, especially those who live in Richland Farms, right? You own a home. You don't have to build it if you don't want to. That's one. They're not mandating you to build it, but for people who want to, because they realize their kids cannot afford to go out and buy a house, they can build a house on their property and move their kids back there, and the property value goes up. And that's generational wealth. A city can, in fact, stop building and deny a permit under two conditions: health and safety.
yes.
Can I just ask a question? Is there any way that you could just add parking to that bill? Does they have to add parking?
Health and safety. Health and safety. So if you already maxed out on your street because you got kids, they got 3 cars, they all up the drive, and neighbors all upset, whole 9 yards. Health and safety. You can go to as a homeowner and say, we can't have my neighbor. I love my neighbor, but health and safety is not safe because and then also remember, I'm gonna say this because Candace right here. No, it's okay. Let me say this. Also, we understand when our homes were built, they were built with, on my street, cul-de-sac, 26 homes. The sewage were built for 26 homes. To add someone else and create another sewage, that's the pressure, health and safety.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Assemblymember.
And if you need to contact us,
We appreciate you. Know that you're always welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I got to run a walk. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, before we move on to Connected Compton, I want to quickly say thank you to YouthBuild. They opened up their space as a community space and have allowed us to use this beautiful space at no charge. So we're not in Gonzalez Park anymore. We can hear each other. This is what community looks like. People working together, organizations working together. And so Roberto, thank you very much. And Sarah here, this is a beautiful facility. And it benefits our youth so much. And they help youth from, what's the age? 16 to 29? 29 get their diplomas.
High school diploma, real quick, hi everybody, my name is Roberto Rodriguez. I'm one of the teachers here at Compton YouthBuild. We are a workforce and leadership development program for youth age 16 to 29. Pretty much we have helped young people get their high school diploma, as well as if they're trying to go into construction or apprenticeship programs, we do all the certs for them to be able to get the certification for them to enter level 2 apprenticeship, as well as a culinary program that happens every evening. And then you get all the certifications in order for you to become a sous chef at any restaurant. And lastly, we have also Project Heart, which is a health and relationship program for youth ages 15 to 19. So all these different things are all within this entity. Fortunately for us, while COVID happened, our program actually did not get smaller, it got larger, which is actually one of the reasons why we were able to completely renovate this space for $500,000 thanks to the office. You might actually see some of the changes that have happened. If you are sitting over there in that area, you see that beautiful outline that used to be a stage that is no longer there. Back in 1978, that actually used to be a pool. Ms. Reyes, you are sitting in the middle of a pool. So, you know, one of the things is that, of course, is creating a space, right? We tell our young people, let's create a space, let's create that transformation that we want to see in our community, right? And we need to see that through action, because we can say everything, but ultimately it leads to action. Many of the young people that come to us are probation, parole, parents, and teens. So by the time they get to us, we've already told them they lived a life and a half, right? We've already gone through so many different things that honestly, if you heard some of the things, you'll be like, oh my God. Anybody watch Rosa de Guadalupe? No, nobody heard that? All right, it's a show, not an American show. It's really, really like emotional, but some of those stories are true to us, right? And I tell my wife, I know a case like that. I know a young person like that. They've gone through something like that, right? And ultimately for us, one of the biggest things is creating that space. And so, you know, if your organization or anyone is interested in using our space to have a meeting or to do an activity, our space is open. Ms. Sarah Silva, who we saw like right at the beginning, she's our director. She's one of our co-directors, and she was the other co-director. And they created the space specifically for the community. And you know, if anyone's interested, please reach out to us. We are here every single day from 7:30 in the morning to 7 o'clock at night. If you want to learn more about us, feel free to drop on by. We will give you a tour. And yeah, so welcome to Compton.
Thank you, and thank you again. All right, we need to get moving. So our next guests are Connecting Compton. We have two of the three here, Hector Gomez and Rogelio Diaz. They are looking to bring an equestrian and community center to the city. It is a beautiful design. I was very blessed to get to know them. I think it was last year, the year before, 2 years, it's been 2 years. And I learned about their program, and their hearts are beautiful for what they want to do for the community and for the children in our community. It is something that will move Compton forward. I've done my research, I've talked to them, I know what they're about, I know where they stand. And I wanted to give them an opportunity to talk to all of you and answer any questions that may come up about the project, so.
Thank you. All right, thank you guys. Thank you for having us. Big shout out to Candace. When we first started this mission about, all right, how do we get this done? Who do we talk to? We first reached out to Candace, thanks to Nina that introduced us. Big shout out to YouthBuild. You guys are doing something awesome here, and we're inspired by it, and we want to help you guys as we move forward if we're successful. Jen, thank you very much for your help throughout this time, and Mr. Mike Gipson too, who has given us a lot of advice, along with a lot of the local politicians.
And so, thank you for the introduction. And just to give you more, for those of you who know who we are, a little background on who we are. So, Daniel was not here, Rogelio and myself, Hector. We all graduated from Cal State University of Minnesota, so, and we graduated there with a degree in education. We currently are teaching as physical educators, and together we have roughly 20 years of experience as educators. And so we see a lot of the limited resources that we have within the communities. I personally got to teach a lot here in Compton over in Bunch, and so I mean, growing up also, within the community, in a similar community. I grew up in Bell Gardens. I've been a part of Compton now since going on 7 years now over in Richmond Farms. And so we get to see a lot of the resources that we're lacking of and what we can really expand and build on. And so when we first met a while back, one of the things was, well, we're in the Richmond Farms community, we're in the question community, agriculture community. And we noticed how immediately that question community just brings people together. And we decided to tie our education and our passion for the question agricultural lifestyle to see how we can actually connect the community, but also bring resources from outside communities to help just build and empower what is Compton, right? And so we decided to come with the Compton Question Center and this side. Feel free to stop by and take a look at it out. Chance, and also have a flyer out to. Nice, awesome, thank you.
And so, as Hector mentioned, neither of us are developers. We're not this Swiss bank. We're just like, imagine 3 of you folks getting together, putting your heads together and figuring out a plan of what you can do. Like Hector touched on it. We have a lot of experience, and I've been very lucky to be in a position where at one point I supervised 193 elementary schools across LAUSD, and I got to see the difference from San Pedro to the Valley, to Venice Beach, and then to East LA, and then the difference that exists within all the schools and all the different communities. And South LA, Watts, and Compton have it the worst. And it's sad. It's very sad to see how it goes, because it's not that the school's not trying or the educators are not trying, it's that there's just so many things going on in those communities that kids aren't able to focus, things are going on. There's so many things that just, and at the end of the day, we need to be able to bring in more resources and more support. And the reality is that we can't, like, for example, Mike Gipson has a very tough job. He's not gonna be able to fix everyone's issue. It really is about us doing it. We got to the point where we just, you know what, if no one's gonna do it, we gotta do it ourselves. How are we gonna fund it? And that's how we just started planning. And we got to this point where it took us 2 years to get to the point where we planned. Those are pretty pictures, but we have a lot of homework that we've done in the background of how we're gonna sustain this program. What is it that we're gonna do? Who are we gonna be focusing on? How can we support some of the issues that exist in Compton, but get to them really early? So for example, when the issue is 40 violent crimes happening here in the city of Compton, how do we help people get a job early on? And so one of the things we want to build, just like YouthBuild, is we want to give people opportunities to have free, no-cost jobs training when it comes to welding, plumbing, electricity, air conditioning, different trades that we can immediately get kids that we know right now, they're not going to go to college. They're not going to go to college. We know stuff. We know school's not for everybody. School wasn't maybe for us either. We had a hard time, but we got through it. And we want to just give kids an opportunity to bring some money home, have a household, be able to get off the streets. At the end of the day, we believe that's a solution that we can offer. We also want to use horses, because at the end of the day, horses break down all barriers. When we take our horses out of Richmond Farms and people are not used to seeing them, they immediately run out of their houses. They come and say hi. No matter what color, what race, what culture you may be from, they come out and say hi. And so the horses naturally break down barriers, and we want to use that to be able to offer therapy and services for Compton's youth and elders. Along with offering equine therapy for kids with special needs, we also want to focus on Compton's veterans. A lot of things that have happened here in Compton, unfortunately, there's just not a lot of resources, and we figured if we were to be able to build this facility, we're going to be able to have a sustainable program to not only service the programs that we want to do, and thank you for posting our website on that page right there. But we also want to be able to offer support to some of the other groups here in Compton and maybe surrounding cities. If we're able to be successful and build this space, we're going to build a community center that can house other great programs that are already doing great work, and we'll sponsor that program. But our relationship to them is that now they have to service the city of Compton. They may be working out of Gardena, they may be working out of Long Beach, but if we're able to house those programs and bring them here, we're going to have the leverage to have them only focus on people of Compton. And that's the goal. We want to be able to bring in, do something different, and build a different type of vibe to Compton, because right now at the moment, even when we have to take kids to field trips, we're taking them to the OC, we're taking them to different spots. You're never going to bring, we never take kids to Compton for a field trip. And this will be a spot where we're going to be able to change the perception of the city. We're going to be able to give people a different opportunity. And the beautiful thing is that Compton has a super amazing history. originally, the man that owned all of this land from San Pedro to, Lawndale and Hawthorne and Gardena, his name was Manuel Dominguez. And he came into an agreement with Compton, and they are able to form all of these different cities, all these incorporated cities, but to make sure they kept the agricultural zoning of Richland Farms, the little pocket that's right there between Wilmington and by Greenland, a little pocket of agricultural homes. And the city in the past has promised us stuff. Greenleaf Park was supposed to be an equestrian park. It got funded, it got approved, and that didn't happen. It's to the point where they have a sign with a horse and it says, no horse, right? So they switched it on us. And so we're tired of it. We're gonna press, we're gonna work really hard. And thanks to all the professionals that we've tapped into, they've been helping us along the way because we're not developers. We're really just teachers. And so we've been learning an entirely new field while we still have our job, while we're still doing our thing, while we still have our families. And we've been investing our pennies, literally, we've been having to sacrifice everything we have, going completely broke throughout this entire time to pay for things like an architect to help us design what the conceptual design would be based on our ideas. Working with folks that are, we've gotten a lot of help from a lot of firms that are doing this work pro bono because they believe in the mission. They see what we're trying to do, they see who we are, they see what we're about, and we're very blessed. And at the end of the day, nothing in my life has been this easy. Even though it's been, work, it's aligned itself. It's honestly aligned itself. We feel that we're very blessed to have this opportunity and be able to work on it, but it's not gonna happen without the help of the community. And so we need people, if they believe in this project, to support us. And that support, we don't know exactly what that is yet. We're gonna go to the council meeting, we're gonna start talking about it. Our goal is to get everyone to know about what we're trying to do. We want all of Compton to have questions. We want everyone to ask us exactly what it is they want to see, what do they want of this, because this will be for us, by us, And one thing that we've encountered is that as we've gotten a lot of people's attention, we've also met with people that are greedy as fuck, and we're not gonna let them in. We've done so many fights already where
they tried to already take it from us, and they tried to bring in developers who obviously have experience and have money, and they're like, look, and at the end of the day, for us, it's about the change. It's not about the wealth. I mean, obviously it comes to, we have to sustain ourselves as well, right? Just like everybody else does here too. But it's about the change that we can make. And it tries to come in,
or take complete ownership of the project and have us run it. And so one thing that we're gonna do is that we're never gonna allow that to happen. We're never gonna allow someone from the outside own this and then change the vision and the mission of it. And so the one thing that has been true for the three of us is that we're gonna maintain it for what it is. We're going to offer programming through this space. We're going to be able to find funding and create funding for not just our program, but for a lot of programs here in Compton. And we believe that we're going to be able to change a lot of things. Say we're successful, we're going to tap into the education system here in Compton too. We're disappointed in the way it just has been built, the way it runs. And we believe that there needs to be like revolutionary change in so many aspects to the city for us. And at the end of the day, that's kind of where we're coming from. So,
Ask a question. How many people know where this property is?
yeah, very good
But I
question.
didn't. When I met them, I was like, what? I don't know where this place is. It's weird.
Swamps. That's exactly it. That's the nickname I have. It actually happens to be a land from the city of Compton. It's been there for ages. And so it sits on Alondra, west of the Compton airport. A little residential area sits around it, very quiet part of town. And what we're trying to build is a space that actually is going to enhance the community and not be an encroachment to it. And so one thing that we're going to do is the main entrance stays on Alondra, which is currently a really inactive street. We want to make sure we're a great neighbor to the people that live directly around it. And we understand that maybe a lot of people have some questions, so hopefully we're here today to answer. If you know people that would love to hear more about us, please invite us. We will go anywhere. As you'll find on the fly, you'll find our personal cell phones. That's not a Google phone number, nothing. That's our cell phone number. Right on the back. I'm Rogelio. This is Hector. Danny right now is enjoying Big Bear. It's his family. But reach out to any of us. We have an Instagram page, a website. This is completely funded on our own dollars. There's not someone hiding behind us, puppeteering this. We've gotten that before. And yeah, if anyone would have any questions.
Either.
Oh, and just before, if we're successful, we're gonna be able to get money federally and statewide to help us support the cleanup of that field. And right now, what we're trying to do is work with the city and have them agree to have us go into that site and have a site investigation done so we know exactly what exists, so that we can follow through and make sure that we're making appropriate steps to clean that field up. It may come out in that report that maybe, you know what, don't touch it anymore. And then we just have to say, okay. But we won't know until that site investigation is done. And right now we're seeking federal support for that, and it's looking pretty good if we were to move forward.
Yeah, question here, and then I'll go.
You know, being a longtime resident of Compton, at one time, the history of that land was, it was owned by the county, and they wanted Compton to take over it.
Yeah.
They're like, we'll give it to you, but you're gonna have to clean it up. Like free or whatever. And at that time, the city said, no, we don't want to take that burden on and everything. The question I have is, who owns that strip?
The city.
So the city does.
Yeah,
own
so
it.
we had that the whole maybe 4 months. It was the state, the city, the successor agency, the redevelopment. Everybody was pointing fingers at everybody else. It's the city. City owns it.
So the city does own it.
City owns it.
So.
It's a successor property.
Okay. So,
Yes.
so the only thing that you really have to do is, which is a big task, unfortunately, is convince the city to say, this has been dirt since the 70s. Give us a shot at it.
And the city has actually been very attentive to what we're trying to do. I can say that both Asia, even when we were talking to her, and Emma have been very keen to what we're trying to build. We've gotten no pushback at the moment from the city. We won't know for reals until council and you know, everyone votes on it. But at the end of the day, everyone's been supportive. Everyone likes the idea. They've done their, you know, they've seen what we're about and what we're trying to build and the programming we're trying to offer. And right now, it makes the city of Compton look good because this is something they should be doing. But we don't trust the city enough to do it. And so we're gonna do it ourselves, but we do need their help to do it.
And lastly, you know, I love the concept. If you would put in some walking trails, so people could walk around it, like versus having to drive to some other city to walk on a path. I mean, it's a perfect location. It's easy to get to, and it's spacious where you can walk it a couple of times, a couple of miles in, and then people who aren't into horse riding can still appreciate it.
Yes.
And now they become an advocate of, hey, this equestrian center is great, but I love the drawings.
Yeah, and so one of the things we really want to do with that is consider, I mean, it's not just the question lifestyle, you know, we want to consider everybody in the community, because at the end of the day, we do want to build that for our city. And so, I mean, yeah, there's a big component is the main component is the equestrian, you know, lifestyle, but at the end of the day, there's going to be a community center and enough green space, because initially they want to build a state park. And so, okay, we want a nice functional park. We just don't want a green space where then it's gonna be taken over, and then public safety is now again, you know, in threat. And so we said, let's make a functional green space that we can actually use, not just the questions, but everybody in the community. And so that walking trail is definitely one of the things that we for sure included there. The community pavilion where you'll be able to just, you want to have a picnic, you want to have somewhere to sit, you can go ahead and sit there, you know.
And
You
another thing,
want to have a playground for your children, there's gonna be a playground for the children. There's gonna be a, you know, community center that you can, just like YouthBuild, you come in here, you wanna have meetings, you wanna host things, you can do it there as well, you know.
right there with
There
where
you
he
go.
just zoomed in on the right-hand side, that's a space where we hope to host food trucks and be able to have people come out, families come
Farmers
out.
market.
We'll have security, restrooms, all of that, because at the end of the day, right now, we keep thinking like, how do we unite black and brown people? Well, how about you just create something cool where people go to and that's it, like,
All enjoy.
that we can all enjoy. And that doesn't exist here in Compton, like, just that doesn't exist. And so, and that would be the community center. And this is all pre-conceptual because originally that community center is a lot smaller than what we envisioned it to be. We plan on having a work skills development force built in. And so that space will be much larger if we were to move forward. And originally, the reason I pushed back on Mike Gipson about the housing is because sometimes we get a little pushback from everybody and including housing into this project. And we're not interested. We believe that it'll take away from the project. I'm not saying we're getting Mr. Mike Gipson to get housing. No, we're getting housing from our developers and architects and investors. They're talking about it. Mr. Mike Gipson's not trying to push that on us. But just because he brought it up, it brought it up for me. And we do not want to do that. And we know the city of Compton is really much being influenced to build more housing. So we personally, right now, we want to correct a lot of things that exist against, because Black and brown people, we have the same problem. And so the whole thing about the housing thing, I mean, we want to put our hands into everything because there's a lot of issues here, a lot of issues. We're ready to fight really for a lot of these things. And we want to build a team around people that are ready to fight professionally. We're not trying to scrap on the street right now. Yeah, we can though. We sure can.
All right,
Yes.
To clean it. How much is that? That's
Very good question. We've gotten a quote right now. We're working with the same group of people. Thank God we're working with an excellent group of people. Their name is called Langen Engineering. Langen Engineering helped build the LAFC Stadium in downtown LA. And they also helped build the Raiders Stadium in Las Vegas.
Yeah, they have
Multiple projects.
Some of obviously which are benefits. And so through our architect, we were able to connect with them. And honestly, we believe that they're an engineering group that can
What
definitely.
was the fee that they gave you for the budget?
We wouldn't know until they do their initial site investigation. Because at the end of the day, there could be a number of contaminants. That used to be a landfill. There might be cars in there. Like it's gonna be a lot of things, and depending on until their site investigation, they can't give us a full price on it, to be fair. But it's gonna be in the millions of dollars just to clean up that dump. And so we're fully aware of the responsibility we're taking on, but we also need the city to say, hey, you know what? That's a dump. We're gonna give it to you guys. Because at the end of the day, it won't be sustainable for us to have to pay millions of dollars for a landfill and also have to remedy and do development costs along with construction. We need the city to honestly work with us so it's a sustainable site that stays functional, stays in business, stays efficient. Because at the end of the day, we're taking on a massive responsibility. We're taking on a landfill. A landfill comes with so many issues, and we're ready to take on all of those. We're young.
The city gives the property to you?
Make a negotiation where we create a deal where we're taking on some costs. We don't know what that would look like just yet because we haven't gone into that, but we definitely want the city to work with us on this because at the end of the day, the services that we're going to offer back to the city of Compton, they should be able to work out a deal with us. And I'm being as transparent as I can be right now with you. We want to work out a deal, and at the end of the day, this is a landfill. And we're taking on a massive responsibility of cleaning up their shit. Like, for real, like.
But if the city gives it to you, what do you expect from the city?
Them giving it to us is all we expect. Because at the end of the day, we plan on running our own programming.
What goes on in it or anything like that?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch
They will
that.
have no input as to what goes in it, how you're gonna fund it, none of that. You want them to give you that property.
Right now, we're open to working with the city. There's ways that we can work with the city, potentially work with their Parks and Recs department, potentially work with some of their city administration, what they can do, but we haven't gotten to that point where we get to sit down and discuss that. We're still really in the proposal stage.
Yeah, come back to me with that.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on a second. We have one question here. We're gonna go through a question quick, and then feel free to talk to them after the meeting, but we need to get moving to honor KBK's time as well, because I know there's gonna be a lot of questions on that.
I just want to know, do you have an idea of when the process of investigating if it's toxic or not, how long that's going to take?
Very good question. So right now, we're applying for a grant through Egrc. It's a state and a federally funded program. And like I said, we've been blessed because things have been lining up. This program wasn't available when we first started this project. We've just been saying, you know, it's a wheel. And we've been lucky and this came up. And so right now, the application process doesn't end up till, I think, April. And so we've got everything dotted and we're sending it in and we're gonna see, and we're not gonna know till April for that portion. But there's a number of things we have to get in place to make it work. And right now is a good time to work with the city on an actual negotiation.
And what do you need from the citizens that would help you right now to push something forward?
Right now, we need the support of our council members. Right now, Jonathan Bowers, he loves what we're doing. He believes in what we're trying to do. He's a big advocate. We met him before. He actually became council member. And so we have like minds in many ways of how we have to revolutionary. We have to completely change the way things have been working here. And so he likes what we're doing. But the reality is we want the support of everyone. Right now, we may have some opposition out there. We want your help and potentially coming out to council meetings.
But do you need money? Do you need people to go somewhere? What is it that you need?
Great question. All of the above, huh, Candace? Like honestly, guys, we're so poor sometimes that even having the prints made is like, okay, how are we gonna pay for this? How are we gonna pay for the county? How are we gonna pay? Because we've intentionally not wanted to ask for money because we're not, I don't know, we're just not good at asking for money. But we're now at the point where we have to start asking for help. And so I guess what we'll do soon is like open up, I don't know.
We'll figure something out.
We'll figure something out, because we can't continue this. It's
Yeah.
But immediate, immediate actions that can be taken is we do have a petition going around, and so you guys can find that on the website, also on Instagram, on Facebook, we can look at it for everyone. And initially we started with just 100 signatures, we're almost what, 300, 400, and just quick updates, on the 19th, we are going to have another Christmas tour, right? So we'll be giving details, making that public as soon as we have a flyer completed and all that. So the 19th, we've been walking around the community, especially around the development of the project that's being proposed. And we got a lot of signatures around just that area itself. And so it feels great to see how residents around the area are excited for some change, you know? And so, and obviously we've been having a lot of more gatas and horseback rides in these past 2 years. We're just really working. We really want to get it done. It comes from passion, honestly. It comes with goodwill, and we really want to get this done.
And a letter of support goes so far, like more than money. You saying, you as an individual.
Send it out and then people can sign it and bring it.
Perfect, thank you. Yes.
Call that to the city hall.
We have one more question and then feel free to talk to them after the meeting. And we will be doing a raffle as this meeting wraps up. But one more question here.
Yes, I just want to know, is this going to be a private entity or are you guys going to go for Parks and Recreation to take over? And if you guys are going to, I think from the city, so it's going to be. So
Privately ran.
So then that's my
Us,
question.
along with the team around us to run it because we don't have enough faith in the city to do it.
Right.
Like we legit don't want to put this in their hands. If they did, it would just be another Compton park.
We haven't had Parks and Recs.
Yeah, exactly. Parks are terrible. So if you guys have a plan for how you guys are gonna be self-sustaining, maybe you guys can rent out horse stables to the public.
Very good question. So that's why we have the arena. That'll be actually a profit generating model to help sustain the program that we're gonna have. And so that's it's so funny how we came into development of that. Like, okay, so if we have all this funding, how much money is it gonna take? Then we figured out the money amount and we're like, oh my God, we're never gonna get that to grants. How do we actually create a profit generating model? And that's how we were able to create the arena. And then when we came up with all this, then we went to the architect and they helped us design what potentially could work out. And that's how we got to this
So
program.
not only will that help the arena help support all the other programs that we're going to be hosting, right? And helping to the public, but it's also going to give, you know, all the residents of Compton and outside neighborhoods to actually come in here and also enjoy some leisure entertainment.
It might support local business too. It brings in concert.
Completely, and I believe it'll improve Alondra as well. A development at the end of the day, small business, it'll improve public transportation, it'll increase home value there. And at the same time, we don't want people to sell their houses. Like, be part of its growth. You know, you're messing it up if you're selling and maybe passing to Arizona or something. We want to make sure you stay here, you're part of it, your kids are able to enjoy this.
It's already in Richmond Farms, it's not, there's two different ones.
This all happens to be in District 3. Richmond Farms happens to sit.
No, excuse me, Richmond Farms has their own horse thing.
Yeah.
So this is two different ones. You guys are different. What do you mean? Like a horse. They're riding horses. Don't they have a square? I can't.
Those are individual ranches though.
Yeah.
So Richmond Farms.
A vet center, like a. Yeah.
There's no space in Richmond Farm. Well, we're from Richmond Farms. Yeah, homes have their backyard. You can put your horse stables there.
There's no
But there's
community
no
space.
actual space for us to go in.
Okay, so like the Compton Cowboys that they're talking about, they ride horses. They don't have their own thing.
Oh, Compton Cowboys is working separately on their own.
They're a private property. That's their home. And they have their pen. It's not available to everyone, just your pen. They have an awesome program. They also support our plan. They will also benefit from what we're doing.
We actually want to expand on the programs, and so one of the things is like, when it comes to the actual Christian youth programs, right? Hey, you have a space already. Why don't we give you a larger space if we can provide that for you? and expand on it, service way more kids.
Okay, that's what I was talking. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Feel free to talk to them after the meeting. I want to get you guys out of here too, and thank you, KBK, for being patient. We're almost there. Thank you. Amber with Temple Beauty Supplies is going to make a quick announcement, and then we're going to bring her.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Amber Osborne. I am a longtime Compton resident, homeowner, and I am a business owner in Carson and Southgate. I own Temple Beauty Supply and Mini Mart. We are located on Central Avenue, right at Artesia, behind the McDonald's and across the street from the Compton In-N-Out. We're at the tip of Carson, and you cross the street and you're in Compton. So we're right across from the Compton In-N-Out. As well as my Southgate location on Imperial and Garfield in the city of Southgate. We are having an event on December 19th. That's next Sunday. And it is a partnership with New School Sings Old School, which is a nonprofit youth organization that involves singing, modeling, acting, performances with the youth. And it is our Fashion Aid Christmas extravaganza. We are having a toy drive and giveaway, as well as food services. We have gift cards for various grocery stores, and we are looking for people in need, families in need, youth in need. I know YouthBuild mentioned having like young parents. Those are the people that we're looking for. We have an event. Ultimately, we have seasonal events, Easter basket giveaways, back to school events, etc. We will also be giving out school supplies. The issue that we have is that we do not have enough participants, so we are taking a lot of backpacks and school supplies back home. We're taking shoes back home. We're taking toys and gifts back home. So this is a public request for people to participate. Everything is Temple Beauty Supply, as in your body is your temple. And it is TempleBeautySupply.com, Temple Beauty Supply @Gmail, Temple Beauty Supply on all social media platforms. Please reach out via DM, email, phone call to recommend any organizations or anyone that you know that is in need, where we can be of aid and assistance to the community. I am of the community. I am among the community. And my Southgate store is 98% Latino clientele. My Carson store is 98% African-American clientele. And so we want to be of service to the community. We love and appreciate our people. We were among the first during the pandemic to provide PPE, masks, and sanitizers, and etc., because we did not have access to these essentials, as well as not having access to transportation to get other places to have those things. So we just want to be of aid to the community and continue to provide, but we need you all to support us in allowing us access to those in need so we can be of service. Again, Temple Beauty Supply, Temple Beauty Supply and Mini Mart, TempleBeautySupply.com, etc. on all platforms. Please reach out, please tell a friend, and please come out and show your love and support as well. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We doing all right? Do we need to stretch? Are we good? Does everyone have coffee? Okay. So we have the team from KBK Enterprises here, along with Gerhard Mayer. You're the architect, correct? He is the architect. This is a project that people have probably heard about on Compton Boulevard. There's been a lot of questions, a lot of buzz about it. So we're very thankful for their team for showing up to answer questions and to get more information on this project. So I'm going to just turn it over.
Good morning, I'm just the architect. We also have the team from Ohio. I see Jamie here, Keith Brandon Key, and Mr. Key. And before we get started, let me just say, I think it's an awesome idea. I love horses. I have been around horses, you know, from my life. there is something magic that happens when kids and horses get together. I fell off the horse a lot, they did. And they just liked it, and it's really, it's amazing. So it's something to really look forward to. Thanks. So the development, 501 Compton, Jamie, did Mr. Key want to start us off?
Candace, I'm sorry, it says my screen sharing is disabled.
I love technology. Let's see here. Try it now.
And Gerhard, yes, Mr. Key is gonna set us off. Thank you. All right, here we go. Thank you.
Great. Good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing? Good, good. First, I want to commend you. I've been on the call for the entire time, and I commend you for taking on so much information in such a short period of time. I know it's a lot for everyone, and I commend you for consuming so much information and having some incredible questions. So I know these experiences are important, and I'm glad to see how engaged everyone is. So that's wonderful to see. Let me introduce myself. My name is Keith Key. I'm the president and owner of KBK Enterprises. We've been around since 2005. Before then, I've been in development for another 10, 12 years before that. And so I've been in development for 25 years. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Public housing kid, grew up, went to Ohio State and lived in Ohio ever since. Been involved in banking and finance most of my early career, and got involved in development because I wanted to make a difference in communities around the country. And I've had the privilege of working with a variety of faith-based organizations and cities and communities all over America, really trying to make sure that there is an opportunity for us to participate in the development of our communities and being able to participate at the leadership level. And development is really where it begins. A lot of times I grew up not knowing who owned what, and most of it wasn't owned by people who lived in the community or looked like us. And I said, wow, how does that happen? And how can I make a difference? And access to capital and those things became an important part of the process. But as I began to travel, I started realizing that there's very few African-American developers in the country that can do large-scale projects and large-scale opportunities and be very thoughtful about how it's done relative to participation, relative to access to units, access to commercial space, access to capital. And so we began to start playing a pretty heavy role in that space. And you're going to see a little bit of that in the design and development of this proposal. And I think some of the things that we've done around the country, I think speaks volume as to what's possible. And I've been back and forth to Compton for a number of years. And some of you I may have even met. We've been a sponsor for the Thanksgiving dinners and the Thanksgiving turkey giveaways for the last 5 years or so, working with Master P and some others. And I had the chance to meet him maybe 10, 12 years ago when we redeveloped his old neighborhood in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina. And we met and really gained a great friendship. And so I've been involved in some of the things in his work, and he's been involved in some of the things in my work, and we've met other people. And so it's just begun those relationships that I think still hold true today. So the team around you, you have Tisha Germany, who's our vice president, and Jamie, who's my executive assistant, and she does all the administration for projects as well around the country. And my son, who's involved in business development, he's on the line as well. And then Gerhard, he's our architect there in California with GGLO. They've done a great job, and this screen shows some of the other team members. And one of the other important parts that people may not know is that part of the partnership includes the city of Compton. So you are a part of this development. It's not being done around you. You are literally an important piece of this puzzle, and you'll see that as we go through our presentation. I won't belabor the point of going through a lot of the details. I'm hoping that in the question and answer period, you'll be very pointed as to what information you'd want to know more about us and the business that we're in and this particular project, or even myself. And so I won't go through a lot of time spending in that space. So Jamie, if you can go to the next page for me. We've had several meetings in the community. We've had meetings with city council. We've had meetings with a variety of different regulatory agencies to make sure that we can meet all the qualifications. And so part of what I've listed here are some of the concerns that came up in those several meetings. And they were traffic, they were areas for kids to play, tot lots, parking was an issue, workforce development was discussed, fire safety, and we've provided some additional things that we think will be important, as we've heard from others that we've talked to just on a one-on-one basis. But those other items were pretty much large scale discussions that we had along the way. So in this presentation, we're going to highlight those and address those in addition to giving you a great overview of this development. So overall, the plan is to look at the 501 and 601 block of Compton Boulevard, and we've proposed something. This property was consumed by the successor agency. As you may know, through the state of California, they consumed all the property that was publicly owned and put it through a successor to actually manage the distribution of property. So we bid for the property several years back, in 2018 to be exact. And we were awarded the 501 block, and then later the 601 block came on board as well. And so the plan was to design space and working with city code and work within the context of what was possible to do there, and design a space that could actually fit the vision for the downtown portion of Compton and on Compton Boulevard. And so the design of it resulted in 290 units being designed for the space that would have all the amenities of any development of modern nature, from swimming pool to fitness centers, lounges, units, washer dryers, all those things that I think would be great amenities to attract people in Compton to stay in Compton, and people who want to move to Compton to come and be a vital part of its growth and development. One of the things that was important for us is thinking about the future of Compton and how we designed the space is that it's really attracting young people and empty nesters, because empty nesters are trying to get out of housing in some respects. They're single family homes, and younger people who are not ready because they're young and maybe unmarried, or young and recently married, or one child, may not be ready for a purchase of a home, but want to live and stay in the community without having to leave and take their talent with them. I think there's been a talent vacuum in most of our urban markets around the country. Not that people don't want to stay in their community. There's no place to go once you do well. And so people tend to leave until they want to come back maybe and become a homeowner, or find places that can fit, whether it be at, dad and mom's house, or dad and mom moves on and they take on the house. But in that interim period, it becomes unusual. My daughter went to college out there, and she was trying to find a place in Compton. It's hard to find a place to rent that had all the amenities to it, especially as a single lady to come into a city. She wanted to have all the amenities and so forth, and fitness centers, and there's just not a lot of those in major urban markets around California. And so she found some other place that wasn't far away, but she, visited Compton often, went to church in Compton. So her whole lifestyle outside of housing and home ownership, or rental rather, was really spent in the Compton area. And so we designed spaces that we think is really a gap in the market, so that people have the ability to stay connected to their community. But one of the things that was a big part of the plan was to build an innovation center as a part of this as well. And so part of the plan is to design a 44,000 innovation center that would actually be a place where education can occur, where people can bring thoughts, and artists and writers and all the things that I think really has been an important part of Compton's past and present history, to really have a place to lodge itself, so that innovation can occur, whether through technology or music or so forth. We looked at Willow Plaza and thought that could be a great marquee location as it terminates into that community in that facility, to really have a place where people can gather and have activities outdoors and be able to connect both the facility and the community together. And then the retail uses, we had some space in there that would provide access to businesses, retail, food services. So again, making sure it's a complete environment so people have access to it, from who live in the building and people who live in the community, to know that that's a place that's welcome for everyone. And then lastly, of course, the housing itself, we wanted to make sure that there was a portion of it that was dedicated to affordable housing. In my mind, affordable housing is an important piece of the puzzle. We had 58 units dedicated to affordability at low income levels, at 50% and below median income, to make sure that people had some place to start and could grow into affording more, but really having an entrance into the marketplace. And so we thought that was important as well. And we designed this model under the premise that there's going to be a process where people who are there have access to all these amenities, regardless of their income level. So there's not anything that would be unavailable to them. And the units are indiscriminate in that, whether you're affordable or market rate tenants, there's nothing that will define these units differently. So that's kind of the premise of it. And again, we've been working on this since 2018 with the city, with everyone involved. And we've been working towards this thing called an ASIC application, which is really about, working on this facility as it relates to the transportation and how that works with the transit center, how it works with bike paths and parking and so forth. And so you'll see a lot of that in this presentation, but I'm going to pass it over to Gerhard to walk you through some of our design and thoughts about how this design really complements really what the vision has been and what the city had already defined to be an important part of its planning and code designation, because we're really staying within code. We're not asking for any exceptions to be made as much as we are just really designing something that we think is within what the city had envisioned for itself. So let me stop there and pass it over to Gerhard, and he can walk you through some of those design features.
Thank you. So Jamie, can you change to the next? Yeah. So a little bit about me. I'm not born in the US. I'm born in Vienna, Austria. And I came to the US a long time ago. I'm now a citizen. And I lived in Brooklyn for a while. And eventually I moved to Los Angeles. And when I was in Los Angeles, I heard Asia Brown initially talk about Compton becoming the next Brooklyn. And I thought Brooklyn was great. So if that's the case, that's a place to get involved to help make that happen. And I was involved with a couple of projects initially with the NHS, Lori Gay, that didn't come to fruition. And then I was introduced to Mr. Key. Asia Brown had meanwhile started a visioning process for the downtown of Compton that is now the subject of a current specific plan. And this project will be part of that specific plan. So this project is part of fulfilling that vision for downtown Compton. And what you see is this is basically an instant downtown like many other cities around that we like, already have. Maybe a little bit like Santa Monica, maybe a little bit like downtown San Bernardino, except it's in Compton and it's for here and it's for locals. And I think in combination with Mr. Key, there's no developer who will make sure as much that this will be the case as I think Mr. Key will. This is a downtown for Compton, to enjoy for people in Compton. And that turkey giveaway, I was part of that turkey giveaway just before COVID, and if you look at the streetscape there, you can just imagine, restaurants and street life like you find in many other places. And if you had a restaurant that served something like at that turkey giveaway, that was the best turkey I've ever ate. And I cooked myself, I'm pretty good at it, but there was a better turkey that I can make. So I'd be coming here to visit if that was the case, and as will many other people. I think you can create an instant attraction in the downtown. What you see here is Willow Plaza. It is a plaza at the end of Willow Avenue. It's a plaza that is free of car traffic, but it'll be available for emergency vehicles to drive through. It'll be a focal point on Compton Boulevard. You're very close to the train there, so we would hope that a lot of people who live in that building will actually take the blue line, or now it's called the A line, both to Long Beach and to downtown LA. And we hope that there will be an exciting amount of street life, restaurants, stores, convenience stores, all sorts of stuff come and be housed in this building. There'll be new greenery, you know, that's part of that Egrc grant, that's Affordable Housing Sustainable Communities, that's a state grant that comes from taxing polluters and then reinvesting it in deserving communities. That's part of what has shaped our project. And the shade and the street tree and some of the changes to the sidewalk and the public realm, that will be all financed through that grant. Now, at the end, where you see sort of these giant steps stepping up, this is a green space from the roofs, you know, so we actually have some outdoor space that will then eventually end up on the top, having a view both down to Long Beach as well as to Los Angeles. Can we change to the next one, Jamie? So it's a big project, right? It's 2 full city blocks. And while we want it to be sort of like an instant starter culture for the downtown, we also got to make sure that it doesn't look like a behemoth, you know, that just sits there and just dominates. So we broke it up into a lot of smaller buildings. You know, there's a lot of variation and a lot of in and out and some openings with bridges going through. So it's the perception of a collage of many buildings, not just one massive project. And there'll be lots of solar panels on the roof. That is part of that Egrc grant. You know, there's accessible roof spaces. And the fact that it's broken up into smaller pieces, you know, means that there will not be pollution stored there, but there will be ventilation flowing through, et cetera, et cetera. And in the middle, you can see, of course, Willow Plaza. That's the centerpiece, you know, that will give a new public space back to Compton. Can we go to the next? We have done a number, there's obviously always concern about traffic. And the concerns are justified, but on the other hand, we had commissioned 2 separate traffic studies that sort of like looked at local impact. And the most impacted street would be Willow Street, and it's both a plus and a minus. You know, they no longer can drive down to Compton Blvd directly, but it'll be a cul-de-sac, so it'll be a much quieter street for most of the time. Go to the next. So this is Willow Street, you know, and okay, go to the next. This is a project that hopes to attract a number of families also, so there will be provisions there to entertain children. So on some of those roof terraces, we have tot lots, you know, for kids to play. Of course, they'll be protected. There's no danger with them being up there, but them being on the roof, you know, they can be loud and they can enjoy the sun, and the residents in the building are not impacted. So there is a accommodation made for that. And parking. The project is parked with, gotta get these numbers right because that's always a difficult question, 391 parking spaces. That's 290 units, 391 parking spaces. Of those, 257 will be below grade. You won't see them. This is something that LA doesn't do. That's why LA is so awful, because we let everybody park above grade in huge boxes. So this will not happen here. So most of the parking is underground, and 134 spaces of those, of the 391, will be shared spaces. So during the day, they will be used by people who use the commercial areas, and at night they will be used for parking. Again, this is something that LA has difficulty with. I mean, Compton has this huge opportunity to leapfrog so many things that happen elsewhere badly. I mean, because you don't have that much legacy constraint, right? There isn't somebody who's always been doing it, so they're doing it again. I mean, you have a huge chance with Compton, I think. And LA is a good example to leapfrog in many areas. I mean, I'm pretty dominant most of the time. You are one of the 87 cities that is not LA in LA County that could leapfrog LA City, which would be great. And so I think parking is adequately accommodated. Again, I'm saying you are within a half a mile of a transit station, which is the most heavily traveled rail corridor in Southern California. So the A line is the busiest rail line. You can walk there within a half a mile, and we do hope that some of the residents will make use of that. And with that, I think I'm turning it over to Tisha Germany.
Thank you, Gerhard. We think it's also important to not just focus on the building itself and the environment around that, but also the people part of the project. And that's one thing about KBK Enterprises is that the touch of being able to be a part of the community and be involved in the community is equally as important as the structures that we're building. So one of the things that we've done already is touch base with Career Links as part of the City of Compton, and working towards making a tailor-made job skills training program with the City of Compton that will provide training opportunities and job opportunities for residents to be involved in the construction of this new development. And that will be not only part of the construction project, but also long-term employment opportunities as well. And so we were really excited to meet with the folks from the city that are involved in this process. And we think that we'll be able to build out a great program that will be for short-term employment as well as long-term employment, as well as training opportunities. Not to mention that we're also very interested in entrepreneurs that are in the community and those that are interested in being a part of construction projects that are small business owners. So we'll be working with the community and with the city to make sure that those small businesses and entrepreneurs have opportunities as well. Next slide, Jamie. One of the items, as Mr. Key had mentioned earlier in the presentation, that we heard when we were talking to the city council folks, to city planning, and so some others, is the concern as far as public safety when it comes to a building of this size. So we've negotiated, and are still in the middle of negotiating, I should say, a development impact fee. And what this will do is provide a new ladder truck, fire ladder truck, and a training fund for the fire department. We realize that this building is large and it's dense. We want to make sure that everyone is safe and that that public safety is trained properly to be able to serve the residents in the community in this area. One of the other items that came up as well is, as Mr. Key had mentioned, this building is designed according to code that allows for a certain height. And that height is about 75 feet. This building is just under that 75 feet. This picture right here offers that depiction of what that kind of looks like. The AT&T building is right across the street. And this building is about 6 stories. It will be about seven stories rather, so it'll be about 10 feet higher, but that density is allowed under the current code. So this gives you a kind of an example of what it'll look like. Part of our other efforts in the community, as far as, for example, talking to you all this morning, and one of the things that we do regularly in all of our projects is to make sure that we consistently speak with the community. So this is not a one-time meeting, but we'll continue to meet with the community and the surrounding neighbors around this building and around Compton Boulevard to make sure that everyone is aware of the development, its process, how it's progressing, and those that are impacted by the development understand what's going on, and will be provided with understanding and some type of assurance that we're there to answer their questions and be there for them. We believe that the project will generate about $300,000 to $400,000 of additional revenue for the city's general fund. So there will be resources brought to the city to benefit the city of Compton. A little bit further down here in the presentation just talks about some of the community meetings that we've already done. We've already been to planning and we've already been to city council and received those approvals. Oh, thank you. Mentioned before, I think by a couple of folks in the presentation, is the Affordable Housing Sustainable Communities grant that we have applied for. We applied for that grant this summer. We are being shortlisted, getting a lot of questions from the reviewing committee about this. This will provide about $20 million in partnership with the city of Compton for this project. Most of the dollars for this will go to the city of Compton, will not go to the development. But as the presentation shows, a lot of it will go towards the infrastructure to make sure that everything is upgraded and as modern as possible for the development. It will also support the infrastructure as far as transportation is concerned and programs. Some of these infrastructure items that will be improved are the sidewalks, the bike lanes, the pedestrian walkways. We're making sure that it's green with our solar panels. And also with the transportation infrastructure, this money will go to 4 new buses for the city of Compton. So the majority of the dollars of this ASIC grant, if we're awarded, will go to the city of Compton. And then the remaining dollars will go towards our development. $2 million of that will go to our development. I think I neglected to mention that the affordable units that Mr. Key had mentioned, that 20% at 50% affordable and below, area median income and below, that those residents will receive free transit passes for 3 years, and some additional dollars will go for a micro business development program that will be customized training and resources that will develop for minority owners and local workforce development.
Well, great.
Is there another slide, Jamie? That's the
No,
end? Okay.
Yeah, let me, I don't know if you're getting a lot of reverberation on this, and let me stop here and open the floor for questions, but let me also add that design that you've seen, I want to really compliment Gerhard and his team. We've actually won an award for that design already in California. So when people have seen it and seen the submission of it, it was an open call for all the designs that are being put forth in the Southern California area, and this particular one won an award that GGLO submitted. So it's a beautiful building. We think they did a great job. It's taken a lot of work. We had a lot of options that have been presented to the city to actually come up with the design that was desirable and met all the expectations that we've heard from all the different markets and community meetings that we've had. So I really want to commend him and his team for that hard work. But let me stop here, if I could, and open the floor for any questions that you may have.
Just to add, the award was called the West Side Urban Forum Award. Compton never shows up in that. In cities like Santa Monica, Culver City, and West Hollywood, they show up. So the fact that Compton shows up in those awards is great, all by itself. And I want to just say one thing about ASIC. ASIC is highly competitive. So in order to make the project be competitive, which I think it is, to get awarded these $21 million, we had to sort of gear it towards that program. And that program required the more units you have, the more housing you have, the more competitive you will be on that project. So could we have designed a different project? Yes, but also we want to maximize, the chances to get that award. Sorry.
Well, my question is, why is it so many?
Why is it?
Well, yeah, why 7 stories?
Well, I just mentioned, I could suspect that you would ask something like that. Yeah, and that's the plan that the city has for the downtown. So the first one out of the gate for that downtown plan, that overall downtown, but also ASIC is designed to sort of change the paradigm for our California cities. We can't keep going the way we're going. We are killing ourselves. Climate change is not a joke. If we keep going the way we're going, we will for sure all die. Your kids will not have a life. Period. This is not hyperbole. We need to change the way we are going about building our cities. And mostly what we need to change is we need to get out of our cars. If we don't get people out of our cars, it's game over. 40% of the carbon load in California comes from the fact that we are driving, much higher than any other place. We are the leaders in the world because we drive so much. If we don't change that, we have no future. And the state recognizes that. The state taxes the polluters and gives communities money to change their game plan. So the downtown game plan is a more walkable city, a city where you go to the train, there's new buses there, there is incentives for people to sort of use all these facilities. And lastly, I mean, personally, I think a smaller building will be just as nice as this, but you want to get those $21 million for Compton too, because they will buy a lot of things that a lot of people have asked for.
He was.
For the units that you're gonna have, how many are gonna be for high income, how many for medium income, and how many are they gonna be for low income?
I don't know the exact breakdown, but of the 290 units, 58 are gonna be subsidized, right? Affordable housing.
Yes. So we've been in discussions with the city of Compton and the housing authority to even provide project-based vouchers for those 58 units to make sure that people have, even within the affordable housing ranks, have access to additional subsidy for those units as well. So in addition to the rents being lowered, people who have access to vouchers will also be available to move into those properties as well. So it's really several tranches, I guess, of stepping stones where people can be involved in living there, from very low income to moderate income to market rate housing. So it's really a place that is economically diverse.
Oh, I just have 4 questions. So for the Innovation Center, 44,515, do you have an architectural program?
We don't have an architectural program for that, but there's a couple of big media companies that are interested in it. This was also something that Asia Brown started. There's a lot of demand for local stories, Black and Brown stories. I mean, they are hot in our media environment. And this is an idea of sort of like bring a little bit of Silicon Beach right to Compton to sort of like generate that kind of content here, and also give people opportunities, to generate income so that they can afford more expensive things also.
So, but the type of innovations that is more around multimedia and the arts, right?
Yes.
Not so much the crafts.
Right now, well, it can be anything, but right now the people who are really interested in it are sort of like, multimedia, craft, storytelling.
Not the crafts.
Not the craft.
Okay.
Well, the craft in movie making and the craft in media production.
Okay.
Multimedia.
Okay, not welding, not machine shops.
No, they're not that. No,
Okay,
right now that's not.
Okay, no workshop, wood shop, welding shop, craft shop.
That's not to say that couldn't be done, but right now I have not heard of it.
Okay, and then is the residential owned, like condos and stuff like that, or is it all rentals?
I'll let Mr. Key and Tisha respond to that.
It's all rental.
Rental, okay. And then how many parking levels below grade?
Well, it's one tall parking level below grade, but there will be 2 cars parked on top of each other with a mechanical device.
Oh. So it's one parking level, 2, okay. And what's the schedule?
It's called semi-automatic parking.
Yeah. And what's the schedule for breaking ground and certificate of occupancy?
That I do not know. That'll depend a lot on negotiations with the city, I believe. I defer back to Tisha again. Tisha is nodding.
A target year at least?
Do we have a target year, Tisha?
Well, I would think, Mr. Key, correct me if I'm wrong, we're hopeful that we'll be awarded the ASIC application. So we'll spend the rest of 2022 doing a financial closing and finishing the design on the project. And so I would think that we would break ground in early 2023.
Okay. And then how long is the project for construction?
Well, I would say it's a 12 to 18 month construction period.
So by 2025, it's kind of done. Okay.
If not sooner, yes.
Around that 2025. And the 12.2 that's to pay for the infrastructure, the streets and the lights and all that, is that just for in front of the building or all the way to the courthouse?
I think that is extending further out than just the building site itself, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you jump
Yeah,
in?
it's
Okay.
actually from the building to the transit center.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it also goes up Santa Fe quite a ways, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, to Santa Fe. Oh, all the way to Santa Fe. Okay.
Yes.
I have 2 questions. First, regarding the housing infrastructure, I don't see anything related to the sewer mains. have you guys taken any consideration to any overloading or any detail that you can provide to see if we're gonna get, because the city has already had an issue with water treatment. Is there gonna be any effect on that? Because I don't know if they're gonna be able to handle 290 additional units, some housing more than one individual.
Well, we have found that our city public works a lot. They were involved in the project, and so far that concern in that particular location has not come back to us.
So the city of, you said, sorry, what was that?
Public works. We have talked to public works. They know about this. They have checked this out, and so far that has not been a concern there.
Okay, and my next question was regarding the careers. Are you guys going to be looking into hiring union workers, or are you guys going to be following that? There's a measurement, J. We have to hire 10% apprentices from a union company. Are you guys going to be honoring that, or are we going to be at?
It's not a J project, but I'm sure that ASIC has a program, and I'll let Mr. Key and Tisha comment on that.
I didn't hear his entire question. I don't know if Mr. Key did.
No, I didn't hear it either. I'm sorry.
I don't know where the mic is.
No, you would have to come closer.
Yeah, so I just have a question regarding, are you guys gonna provide any union jobs? Are you guys having a guarantee or any, gonna have any guarantee that we're gonna have union workers in there? Middle class workers is what I'm referring to.
So let me repeat the question, make sure I heard it right. Are we going to have union job opportunities in either union or non-union?
Yeah, are we going to be
So,
more non-union?
Right. So
construction market.
We've not, I hope you can hear me okay. We got a lot of breakup on this end. There's been a lot of tornadoes you may have seen in the Midwest, and our lines have been kind of quirky lately. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
You hear me okay? Okay, good. Yeah, so we haven't designed at this point. We've actually met with several contractors in the area to really see kind of how to design it. We've done it both, right? We've worked with unions, we've worked with split shops, and we've worked with non-union developments all over the country. So really for us, a big part of that process is identifying the right structure and plan that includes the most minority participation possible. We actually have a national award that we've won for hiring more minority and women-owned businesses in any project in the country in the nation's history in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina. So we're really very thoughtful about, designing our developments to make sure that the participation levels are high. And some cities do a great job of participation with unions and making sure minority participation is involved, and some cities don't. So we'll have to investigate those options as we proceed forward.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I just have two questions. One is about the layout. You mentioned that Willow will become a cul-de-sac blocked off street. So that means that you're going to put more traffic onto Palmer for individuals who want to head east that would normally go east on Compton Boulevard, and put more traffic on Palmer and potentially the side streets for people who want to go west on Compton Boulevard. So were there any considerations to those other neighborhoods and any type of accommodations that they might need? Because now Rose and some of the other streets might pick up extra traffic for people wanting to leave Willow to get back to Compton Boulevard real fast if they're going west.
I believe one of the traffic studies was exactly studying that. Palmer is parallel to Compton, right? It's the next one, and there's a school and a church there.
Yes.
So the Willow itself has 54 houses, right? I mean, that's like a minimal amount of car traffic that would be added. And as far as the impact on Palmer, on Santa Fe is concerned, the traffic engineers, they found that Santa Fe handles like 2,000 cars per hour during peak hours. So the additional cars that would be generated by Willow being closed they consider an insignificant.
Well, I asked that question because of the school there. So a lot of parents use Willow as a quick little, almost pick-up, drop-off type of thing where they come from Compton Boulevard, turn down Willow, the kids get in the car at Palmer, and then they leave. But now, when the building is complete, they'll either have to go down to Santa Fe to come back to the school, or pick up one of the side streets to Palmer. I was asking that question, but I'm quite sure your traffic study will ask the people in the area how will that impact them. So
The question was on traffic impact on Palmer, because of the Willow closing.
Yes, as a matter of fact, that was a specific duty of our traffic study. The second one that we purchased was specifically related to questions that came up about the school itself and the impact at Palmer and Santa Fe and the school. And so it was negligible. They actually came to the city council last meeting at city council to actually specifically answer those questions. So, but that's a great question. It's come up before, and we really wanted to make sure there was nothing that was horrendous. I think a lot of these things, are iterative as they proceed forward itself. They didn't see anything that was going to be impactful in terms of that adjustment to the development and its impact on the school.
And then my last question goes to something you had mentioned specifically, where you talked about the breakout of the people who will be living there, as far as some individuals will be will receive some type of subsidy from some type of federal agency, state agency for their rent. And when I hear that, and I mean no disrespect to anybody who might apply to, this ask a question. When I hear that, I think Section 8 type of programs and people who will be living there. So if that is the case, will a certain segment or will a certain type of units be like, these are the units for people who are receiving subsidies, and then the units on the higher floors, those are all for market people, because sometimes a person can get stigmatized. Oh, that's it. Well, back east they had this thing called the corridor and the rich door on the high rise. And I was wondering, were you going to spread out the units for individuals who receive subsidies? That way no one can feel like someone knows that you're receiving subsidies and lives in a very nice building.
Right. No, that's a great question. And that's something we are really serious about in our development. So we do mixed income neighborhoods all over the country, and we make them indiscriminate so that there's not a floor, there's not a location that's affordable or market that no one will know who's receiving vouchers and who's not receiving vouchers. We have people who are market rate, who are paying, higher rents, and people who are paying $100 a month living right next door to each other in major developments all over the country. And so we've really seen how much that works. And I think the greatest testament I've ever seen was actually seeing kids outside playing. And I was talking to one of the neighbors and asked them how they were enjoying the community. They said it's great. And one of the kids, I said, hey, what do you want to do when you grow up? I want to be, a doctor like my dad. So one of the neighbors was a doctor, and his wife was a surgical nurse. And the other kid said, well, I'm as smart as you are. I can be a doctor too. And his mom was on Section 8, but it changed his perspective. And I don't know if he would have said I wanted to be a doctor had the kid beside him who lived next door now came from a household of doctors. And so I think mixed income really creates an environment where aspirations and networks and relationships become shared. And so I see it work, and everybody who has, concerns about it usually are worried about the opposite occurring. But I think good typically overcomes challenges more than challenges take over good. And so I've seen the results of that. And so for me, I've always been, really open and outspoken about the opportunities that come with mixed income housing, and to make sure that people aren't labeled in these communities that we develop.
And let me just add something to that. I completely support that. Where I come from, Vienna, 60% of the population live in public housing there, 60%. It's not stigmatized at all. I mean, it's actually the best housing there is. And the mayor goes around all the time and says that he is very proud that nobody can tell by the zip code where you're coming from what your income level is. And I mean, social cohesion is high, people get along, that's a recipe for success everywhere we practice it. California used to do it when we still had redevelopment agencies, so when Jerry Brown did away with them. I mean, I got a project in San Francisco liberal bastion, right? Where there was a high-rise tower for wealthy condo owners, and they paid for a poor building somewhere else. I mean, I don't even know how that, but there you go. We will not do that.
I will have get you next. I have a question that I just want to throw out there, because it's something that cycles through on social media and whatever. The seismic activity in this area, liquefaction has been brought up, fault lines have been brought up. Can you please just give us a rundown of the research that you have done on this and just clarify the area and the safety of the area in that regard?
I think Mr. Key is the most authoritative voice of that. Mr. Key?
I think I heard the question. Was it about the,
There are rumors about the seismic activity and liquefaction threats, and we have talked about that before, so
yes.
I think you are the most authoritative voice.
Yes, well, we spent a lot of time and money on doing research in that space. When it was brought up early on about the concern of the fault line and where it lied and the location of it and its potential risk to the building, we actually hired several consultants to actually walk us through where the fault lines were, define them, making sure that this particular project wouldn't be at risk for it. And so we have studies, and I'm sure we can provide that information to you. We actually had it at the city for public viewing for several weeks during this process to make sure everybody had a chance to see it. But if this particular group would like to get some of the fact sheets that will help, I think it was overwhelmingly complicated for me when I read through them. But again, you may know more about it since you're living in that space more than I do. But it really, the summary was that we were not in a hazardous position or a hazardous location relative to the fault line, and didn't see this as a risk for the building and the community at all.
Thank you so much.
I wanted to say, as a small business owner, what is the makeup or the anticipation for the commercial space at the bottom? Is it something more orchestrated towards larger chains or brands, or is it ideally a small business commercial space? I know there was a mention of restaurants or something to that effect. I've been in Compton for 39 years. I remember Compton Boulevard growing up. I remember getting my ice cream and my slushie in one back in the day. And I look forward or anticipate the growth of downtown Compton once again. But what was so ideal about it, and what are some of the great things about our neighboring communities, is that their downtown area in instances may still have an old town feel. I'm all for progression. I'm all for the modernization and improvements of the area, but it is important to have local, small businesses, homeowners in the community, entrepreneurs from the community to be able to create money and generate wealth from within the community. Our downtown Compton area is not filled with local entrepreneurs or small businesses. If you're not big business, you can't get in, and the developers make more money with the spaces being empty and getting tax credits or exemptions for that than actually renting it out at a reasonable rate to smaller businesses. What is your plans specifically for, or your vision specifically for, your commercial space related to this project?
Well, we think it's exactly what you mentioned before. It's intended to actually have local businesses there, businesses that are homegrown, businesses that are looking to actually have a space where they could actually represent Compton. So when people come to visit Compton and are the residents in that building, want to have access to goods and services, being able to walk downstairs or catch the elevator downstairs and be able to build the business to have. And that's where numbers make a difference as well. For those businesses to have access to 290 units, feeding them every day, feeding their business every day, that's a kickstart for small businesses that we definitely want to plug them in. If they were having to do their own marketing, their own sort of, aggregation of clients, that'd be a difficult task for a small business. But to have them at your fingertips and serving them, and hopefully serving others as well, we think that's important. we think that location, because it's downtown Compton, when people come to visit Compton, they're going to want to go downtown and they want to taste Compton. They want to, have access to Compton goods and services so they can say, I've been there. I've been to, when you go to cities, you want to be able to at least experience what it means to be a part of the culture of that community. And we think those business units should represent the culture and the elements of Compton that Compton wants to present to the marketplace, both interior and for people who are visiting. So we see it as a small business incubator, almost a place where people may hopefully get bigger and grow out of. There's 7,000 plus square feet worth of space, so it's not a gigantic retail outlet. There are some other retail spaces obviously in the area, but this is really for small businesses who are launching, whether it be an ice cream shop, whether it be someone who has some food goods, or even some product that they're selling, some novelty goods. So it's a place where people get their launch and get a lot of traffic from pedestrian and people driving by to really build their brand and build their reputation and be able to expand. Hopefully they'll open up other stores, other places, or move on so new stores can come in. So we see it actually operating in a very active space. And for small businesses, we think this will be, for many of them, their first start.
If there's a restaurant there, if it's a chain restaurant, I'm not gonna come. But if it's the soul food place that caters to turkey at the turkey giveaway, I'm gonna be there.
You really like that turkey. I feel like I missed out. Did anyone have any other? We're gonna wrap this up.
Parking for retail,
There's parking for retail, yes.
is it gonna be underground as well?
Well, no, the parking for retail is actually in the back of the Innovation Center. It's above grade because it can't be mechanized because it's people who need to go in and out easily.
Right,
And the below grade parking is for residents, and that is sort of like in a machine.
okay, that and it's gonna be handicap accessible, what is the out? In the event that the elevators don't work, what is the out? How will the people who are handicap accessible get down?
There's multiple elevators. So if all the elevators themselves, are exit paths. We're building code now. Even if there's no, electricity, the elevators will go down and let you out.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm gonna let you guys go because I know we've been here for a long, long time. And I appreciate all of your time today. I feel like this is a great meeting, and it was all rooted in moving Compton forward and getting answers so we can finally start to see progress. So I appreciate your team. I appreciate all of you for being so patient.
Thank you so much.
Is there an email or anything where people can reach you if they have any questions, additional questions?
Candace, I know you and I have emailed multiple times. I'm sorry, my video went out. We're having bad windstorms here. My power's gone out like 4 times while we've been on here, but this is Jamie, and you are welcome to share my email with everyone, and I am happy to respond and or get any answers necessary.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, and thank you, Gerhard, for coming out.
Thank you, everybody.
Stay safe. I know it's been crazy over there. I saw the news this morning, so please stay safe, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, and then we're gonna do a raffle real quick. You mean? We have 2 gift cards. Gilbert Gonzalez.
All right. Come on, Gilbert, which one you want?
Do it that?
This one.
Amber Osborne. All right. Was it the one in the park?
Was it close to the transit station that the community center?
Well, thank you.
Okay, please, if you want to take cookies, or donuts, please take them away, because I will not take them, I'll throw them in the trash.
We don't waste food.
I have a quick question.
Are we still live?
Yeah.
I think there was a call. Are we still Facebook? I actually thought they were. Yeah.
And they're 2 and 3 bedroom.
Yep, I'm gonna shut this off.